Right. But it was.
Oh my God, he mouse slipped. Ooh.
Oh, mouse slip. I think he was trying to play H3. He was trying to play H3, and somehow the rook got to H3 and not the pawn.
That has happened to me so many times. You click the square and then you click the piece by accident, and it moves to the square. Oh my lands!
Could have had 3 results in this game.
We definitely could have had
He pre-moved Bishop G. He pre-moved Bishop H5.
Just when I was gonna say that it's gonna be a draw and then we're gonna have a tiebreaker, but no, David Paravian tricks Nepomniachtchi. Oh my, Fabiano
56.
has missed this when he moved Bishop to D1, and now he is desperately trying to find a defense, but there is none.
No defense. King comes to, well, C2, and there it is. We have a champion.
Wow.
Wow, Levon, his first time in the finals, and he makes it count. $7,500 richer. Levon is a beautiful person to begin with, but I think what his sentiments and what he said was really inspiring.
Indeed, and I don't think Lever wants to leave us, so we can still talk about the carpet too. Because I really,
I totally and wholeheartedly agree with you, Yasser. You have never said anything nice about me, you know?
Welcome to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. It is Saturday Swiss, week number 5. I'm Woman Grandmaster Dina Belenkaya, and it is my privilege to be hosting this show today together with the Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan.
Dina, hello, everyone. Wonderful to be with you. Great honor, Dina.
It is an honor for me as well, Yasser, indeed, and it is the first time we're working together. I'm extremely excited to be running the show, but also to not only to spend the time with you, but also to learn from you, because you are one of the best in the world, and that is no doubt.
Well, thank you so much for that. And what a show we have for the viewers as we pick up our Rapid Chess Championships, Dina.
Right, so let us take a look at the format of the events. We have the 26 tournaments, 26 weeks season, according to the performance of each player that they perform in the weekly events. And final season scores are based on the highest scoring of 13 weeks of players' participation. So basically, you only need to participate at half of the whole run. And only top 12 players qualify to the big finale.
Very, very nice, and can call themselves the Rapid Chess Champion. And our format today is what? What's it going to be, Dina?
So we will have a 9-round Swiss tournament today. Time control, as always, 10 minutes plus 0, no increment. We've got top 8 players to qualify for tomorrow's Sunday knockout.
Very good. And in the Swiss, of course, you get 1 point for victory, half a point for a draw, and the top 8. And in case people are on the bubble, is it tiebreakers, or there's no more play after 9 games?
So now, if people tie, there is a good question.
I think they don't play. They just have
the usual Swiss tiebreaker. Yeah. That's correct. Right. The usual tiebreaker.
Whatever it is, Sonnenberg burger. I never understood it, but never mind.
Yeah. In any case, it is extremely exciting. And let's take a look at who is eligible to this tournament. So we've got all players ranked within FIDE's top 100 world list. Okay. And the rating needs to be by January 2021. And we also got top 10 women plus top 10 juniors. And of course, the last but not least, 10 wildcards.
Yeah, that's always nice to get those wildcards in there. But I tell you, the last weekend when I was working with Danya and Anna, I got to tell you, it's an incredibly strong field. You can lose a game to somebody like Fabi, and you could be paired with Nepo in the next round. So this is an extraordinarily powerful field.
It's basically like a world championship. Even if you lose, like World Rapid on Blitz Championship, you lose, you get the opponent even stronger than before.
Exactly. It's tough. It's tough.
Yes, and let us now take a look at the sponsor of this event. The Rapid Chess Championship is brought to you by Coinbase. Whether you are looking to make your first crypto purchase or you are an experienced trader, Coinbase has you covered. Earn crypto by learning about crypto with Coinbase Earn. Explore DeFi and Web3 with Coinbase Wallet. Get exclusive rewards when you spend with Coinbase Card and much more. Learn more at coinbase.com/chess and get $10 in Bitcoin when you sign up and verify your account.
Very nice. Thank you to Coinbase for sponsoring these Rapid Championships. It sure is fun to watch the players.
Right, so we will be taking a very short break before the show starts, and do not go anywhere because we are expecting a lot of serious fights. And welcome back to Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Let us take a look at the leaderboard before we jump into action. So Yasser, we have such an amazing lineup. Who is leading for now?
Well, Fabi is doing just absolutely great. And the names at the very top of our leaderboards are who's who. of chess. And I was just looking at our current lineup for today's weekend. I got to tell you, Dina, I'm looking at this and I'm saying Wesley So, one of the greatest rapid players the world has ever seen. It's number 8 in this field. We've got an incredible field of players, and I can't wait. I see that MVL and Nepo have also joined at the last minute too. So welcome to everybody.
Yeah, welcome to all of them. And the games are going to start soon. Oh, there we go. We've got the game. So yes, sir. Let us enjoy the action.
Absolutely. And I see that in this game that you've brought up on our board, we have this so-called Scotch ending where it's like with this bishop g5, but we haven't seen bishop g5 actually played just yet.
Oh yeah, so this is my signature line. This is the line I have beat Luke McShane himself.
Oh, well, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
give us the insight. What is White trying to achieve in this particular position? But did you play with bishop g5 or didn't you?
Yeah, it was with the bishop g5. So the rook d1 has changed slightly the direction, also b3, but yes, the position remains the same. So it always goes with the same plans of pushing the c pawn, creating some weaknesses for black with the pawn structure, and trading the pieces and using the black squares. Now that we have traded black bishops, White is going to play around e5, d4, and c5. These are the key squares in this position.
Exactly. The knight on c3 is looking for a better home. Do you usually route it to e2 and d4, or do you route it, I don't know, to a4 and trying for c? And look at this. Black is just ready to trade
b8
pieces as well. Queen b8. Here, I like what you said a moment ago. I like the move knight e2. If we're going to trade queens, let's do it on White's terms. And White did not trade queens, and instead threatening the old checkmate in one.
The old. Something tells me, Fabiano will see that. Oh, look, knight a4, the one you suggested, going to c5.
Right. I think the idea, what you were mentioning of, moves like rook c1 and c4, getting in that move c4 and trying to create a fixed pawn structure. And on a really good day, if you go c4 and you get to trade pawns on d5, then the square d4 is like a monster square for White's queen. White's queen would just land on the d4 square and just like look in both directions. Very, very, very nice.
These squares are the key. Oh, c4 just happened, just as we predicted. Exactly. And there is this trick: you cannot take the pawn because you're gonna say bye to your lovely queen.
The old discovered check.
Yeah, the old
discovered check. Okay, rook b8. Okay, Dina, this is like the first time we got a chance to work together, but you're going to discover that I'm a real pawn grabber. Give me your pawns, baby. I love pawns. And the moment I see a move like rook b8, I come right back to this idea that I was saying. You take on d5 and immediately you play queen d4. Why? Because you're eyeballing the pawn on a7 as well as the pawn on d4. And that has like a kind of a second nature for me, that I want to put the queen on d4. There we see a picture of Fabi. We got a webcam on Fab. As he's our most successful player thus far, as he leads our tournament leaderboard by quite a margin, which is well, I mean, hats off. That he's been doing good work.
Oh, absolutely. And looks like he's thinking for the first time. He's taking some time. We just finished the opening, so we're entering the middle game, and perhaps Fabian needs to find the plans that he would enjoy the most. And as far as for rook b8, usually it goes to b4, very typical maneuver so far. So everything as they say in the books. Standard,
yes. Rook to b, that's why I was thinking that queen to d4, in the words of Walter Sean Brown, immediately. Queen d4 immediately instead of rook c1 kind of had my vote, not only to sidestep rook b8, but really to maybe even stop this move queen b2 in some ways. Queen a3 hitting a2. I apologize. Rook to c8. Okay.
Trying to trade the rook that is protecting the a2's pawn. So once again, a very simple trick, but a very logical one. Now, what is interesting, if you play the usual rook d to c1, you might be in need to calculate queen takes c1. Not sure who's gonna be in favor of that trade afterwards.
I like giving up the queen for the two rooks. I'll take the two rooks, especially when the position is open. That is to say that there's several pawn trades, 2 pawns or more being traded, open position, 1 pawn traded, semi-closed, and when all the pawns are on the board, closed position. So in an open position, you kind of prefer the rooks. So yes, this move rook c8 is a little bit awkward because, well, you don't want to play the move rook d1 to c1, and you don't want to give up the file either. So here I'm thinking maybe rook d2.
Yeah, perhaps Vladislav is calculating rook to d2, but he's taking some time. So it means that there is something he does not like in particular.
Exactly. There's something just a little bit off. So if we play rook on c2 to d2, I'm expecting rook to c1 in that case. And then after rook to c1.
Rook c2. So you are willing to give away the open file. This is your suggestion.
Yeah, provided of course that I am
heading to d5.
Yes, exactly. I'm pressuring d5 and maybe queen to d4, those types of. If I could get queen to d4, queen to b2, then I can harass the d5 pawn in comfort, you know, as we say, play on one goal in that case. But the move that concerns me is rook on c8 to c1.
Oh, and it just happened.
And Dina, I get in it early. Every broadcast I have a cheapo, and the cheapo is to say, whenever these guys make a move I've suggested, they're really, really good.
I like your confidence.
Yes, exactly. And queen h5 as suggested, so that rook takes d1, queen takes d1, and we maintain the protection of the a2 pawn. Now rook c8, you're threatening me on the back rank. So in this case, bishop f1 to sidestep the threat, or even king h2. I'm not a big fan of king h2, and I think bishop f1 might be suggested.
Bishop to f1 to protect the king. Now my worry is that after rook d1, rook takes d1, we're gonna see yet another rook trade, and I'm not sure if that is in white's favor.
Well, I'm more worried about the a2 pawn. So after bishop f1, rook takes d1, queen takes d1 is what I'm expecting. And then rook c1, I'm getting pinned up, but queen e2, and well, it's still one of those, the jury's out. Okay, he played king h2.
That's interesting.
King h2, yeah.
Will we see rook d1, queen takes d1?
Yes, I'm sure.
That's pretty smart, because after rook c1, the second rook coming to c1, there would be no pin anymore. But still, you know, black rook would be extremely, extremely active.
Exactly, exactly. As Bobby Fischer famously said, to get squares, you got to give them. And in this case, black's rook has earned a lot of squares, but also it's about effective pieces, right? And the question is, you know, the rook on c1, how effective is it compared to, say, the rook on d2, which is hitting the pawn on d5? By the way, knight f6, gain of tempo against the queen. And the difference is that now rook takes d1 can be met by rook takes d1 as well. I don't necessarily have to recapture with a queen. Queen check.
King g1.
Yeah, I like this move king g1 better than g3. G2, G3 kind of weakened H3, and I prefer what white just did. Trade trades. So
Right, everything's trading.
at the end of the day, the dream for white is a minor piece ending. If white can trade off the majors, the rooks and the queens, then his king can make a beeline to the D4 square, and then he'll have the queenside majority. And this is a trumpet sound. This says with the move D4, black is looking for knight to D5 to C3.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's on black's agenda, and you don't want that to happen.
No, you don't. Luckily, there is this knight on A4, but something tells me bishop D7 could come as well in the nearest future, and then the C3 would be a real headache for white.
It's absolutely. So now it's a real challenge from white's point of view, how he wants to deal with this issue of knight D5 to C3. It's traded king H2. Check again. Okay, that's interesting. Now
G3. Finally, the one that you were suggesting.
Trying to resist. I was trying to resist making that move, but okay, white felt that he had to do it, but it's kind of strange with the queen on C1. I was thinking that he could put his knight on C3 with the queen on C1. So I'm not sure if I like the inclusion of queen C7 check, but he has an idea, H4. He's just played the move H7, H5.
Yes, the idea is to use the weakness of white's king, as now G3 has created some extra spots here. The white squares are really weak for white.
Exactly. Okay, so here again, I'm thinking if I'm in white shoes, I would like to trade pieces, especially queen. So I'm going to play bishop C4, intending in case of bishop takes C4, queen takes C4. And it's like, please, let's trade. And again, white will have this queenside pawn majority, and the pawn on D4, it looks good, and it's a good pawn. Don't get me wrong, but it's inside the square of white's king, and white's king is going to make a beeline. Ooh, knight threatens to go to C3. I was about to say, I can handle the D pawn with my king, but I can't handle the C pawn. Knight C3.
So we got to sacrifice this pawn to give up this pawn and to bring the king. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble. But you know what? It's an endgame, and in an endgame, the king is the most important piece. And here I see white king extremely overacting.
Yeah, I agree with you, but also I will say that the worst pawns for knights to deal with are A pawn and H pawns. Why? Because knights are short range pieces, and if the knight has to nursemaid an A pawn, then it's out of the game. It's away. So the fact that black has an A7 pawn, speaks in his favor. That hey, it's you've got an active king, but I'll have this A7 pawn as well. That was interesting. Knight back to B3. I had expected king to E4. And I wasn't quite sure. Okay, white's idea is to go king E3, king D2, and king C3. And the point of the move knight B3 is now made clear that you can't defend the knight with the move A5.
That is nice. Oh,
whoa, what is king C5? King C3 I thought was an automatic move there. King C5.
Was it a misclick?
Oh.
It was a pre-move for sure. It was a pre-move.
Things are now really, really tricky. Now black has this crazy move, knight C6, defending the pawn on A5. If you take the knight, then a4, and I think it's a case of a bridesmaids. That is to say, the pawns are apart, and one will coronate. Yes, he's done it. Knight
So this
C6.
is the way you call it in St. Louis,
bridesmaid.
bridesmaid.
The bridesmaids, yes, exactly.
In Soviet chess school, we call it pantalons or jeans, trousers.
Yeah. Okay. I I once had my most awkward moments as a commentator. I was in Vaikanze, and Vasil Ivanchuk, he came in the game, and he won the game against Yobova. Yobova just resigned. And I said, could you explain for the audience why Yobova resigned? And he went, talk, a 12-move variation. And he said, bridesmaids, the pawns are too far apart. He didn't know which word, the pantaloons or whatever. He went, like pawns, too far apart. And I said, oh, very good. Our audience appreciates. He says, any good grandmaster would see it right away.
Yeah.
I said, okay, everybody, we take a pause as I take the sword out of my chest. Now, what is going on? Black is a pawn up, but it's not so easy. Well, wait a minute. Maybe it is. Knight d4 check, what you're showing. And king can come to c5 if you take the pawn. He's done it. Knight to d4 check. King takes a5, king c5.
That's a very nice way of blocking your opponent's king.
Absolutely. What did Mark Dvoretsky call it? Like this body check to the king.
Yeah, we say it like in football. I mean, soccer, sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies. In soccer, you usually have this technique. In football, yes, thank you. I mean, yeah. You usually have this technique with your shoulder. You push your opponent and you do not let him touch the ball.
Exactly, blocking. Knight to e2. This looks like it's game over as Black's knight is prancing and dancing all over the board. And also in these kinds of positions, it's very nice to get in the extra little move h5, h4. I don't know if it's necessary, but when Black plays the move h4, then that pawn on h3 is perpetually a problem. Knight takes, and he's played king d4. A fine game there, nice win. And what other games do we have, Dina? Take us around.
So we still have 5 games on run. We have Parham Maksulu against Lion the Beast. This is interesting, Yasser. These two players are working together. And
really?
I mean, that should not be a secret, otherwise I wouldn't know it. But
I didn't know it. Okay, so okay, they're working with one another. Very nice.
At least from time to time. And yet here we have them facing each other in the Grand Prix of Rapid Chess Championship.
Exactly. So the last move, rook g2, invited white to push his pawn, and rook takes g3, so that after c7 he's going to play rook to g8. And what Black's intention is to give up the rook. He's going to play rook to c8 and rook takes c7, and then he's going to use his king to g5, and to escort his pawn. Why he needed h4, I'm not quite sure. White's winning.
No way. No. How? Wait.
You go rook check and king e5, and I think the white king will be in time.
But what if
you go check?
But the bar doesn't agree. Why not?
King. Oh, you make a knight, of course.
Oh yeah.
Did they make a draw?
Yes, it's a draw.
Okay, so it was the final move should have been king e2, king e4, f2, rook check, king e1,
down,
king
and then
e3,
knight check,
and then knight check.
Yeah, that
even
makes
so
sense.
yeah, I would probably force my opponent to play promotion.
You would, yeah. But because you don't know, it might be an automatic queen, and then you're
right,
and then it's over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this looks no. Oh, no! He dropped a rook. Oh, at the
He made a pre-move. He made a pre-move. King G3.
I think maybe he wanted rook G3. He might have clicked on the square somehow, and the king went to G3.
Oh no.
We saw this. We saw last weekend a very similar thing where it was just a blunder at the very end. Whew. That was a fast round, Dina. It went quickly.
Oh yeah. Wow. Right, Yasser. So now we are getting ready for the round 2. But before that, how about we take a very short break and be right back?
Sounds good.
And welcome back to Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. There we go. Round 1 has just finished, and we have seen a very, very painful accident. Yes, sir. I cannot imagine us being on the spot of Anton Demchenko.
I know. You just feel like this cold showers. You go, no! You know, there's a disturbance in the force. It's extraordinary, Dina, as you look at these many great players. They're all the top guys always seem to benefit. They're the ones who aren't making the pre-move and the blunders. When they make mistakes, they make small mistakes. When we make mistakes, they cost us not just the game, but the tournament. It's terrible. But I tell you, the field's extremely strong as boom, we're jump right into round 2 of the 9-round Swiss.
Let's go. So here we have on our screens. Right, yes, sir. You need to help me with the
well, this move bishop h3 sets up a very, very cunning trap. White was hoping to be able to play after e7, e6, knight to d2 and trap the light squared bishop. So bishop went back to f5 to stop bishop takes d7, but immediately came the move g4, and now the bishop has to go to e6 and knight to g5, and White's got an initiative here. is he can capture on e6, forcing the double pawns, follow up with g5, and force a move like king f7. The two bishops, yes, he's played king f7. The two bishops in certain positions can really be dominating. In this exact moment, black is very lucky there's no rook up and over. If you could bring your rook to d1, to d3, to f3, it would be lights out. But at the moment, it's very hard to give a check.
Oh,
And
yeah.
white has just
This
played the move
is-
rook b1. Okay, that is a
B1 is
little...
B4 somewhere? What is
Yeah,
the
exactly. A
point?
little confusing
Yeah.
there. I was
Yeah.
expecting b4, truth be told. But okay, rook to c6. Now, is white's intention to take on? No, I was about to say, was he intending to take on c5 and then play b4? I think we see a little bit of a logic glitch in the last couple of moves by white, but nothing untowards. I mean, one thing that's absolutely vital for black: don't fall into this positional trap. If white gets in two moves, e2, e3, and f2, f4, then the bishop on g7 is frozen out of the game for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
bishop
that
will
would be
have
a
no
dream.
role. Yes, that's in football, play on one goal. Because you would be a piece down on the king side. So bear that in mind, that's a latent threat that white has. e3 and f4 is a way of killing the bishop on g7. Don't want to see that happen.
And he would also help with the h pawn, putting in h4 in case
Exactly.
of h6, to be
That's right.
sure that e5 square is all controlled.
To be sure, as the Irish would say. Yes, exactly. Now, having said all of that, black just says, look, I can see that's a possibility. I'm going to grab the pawn on d4. You can take my pawn on a5 if you would like. But at least in this case, I'm not going to be losing that kind of strategic battle. If we see the move bishop takes a5, I was wondering if we should include the move rook takes c6 first. One thing I would really aspire very quickly to do if I'm in black shoes, I really want to play the move knight c5 as soon as I absolutely can, because the knight on d7 is actually a terrible piece at the moment. And with this bishop on h3, it's a tactical target. But if I can play knight c5, I can turn the tables, and I would play knight c5 once again if I was in black shoes right now. I'm not, you can't take the knight because of the pin. And with the move knight c5, yes, I'm a pawn grabber. I want to grab the pawn on a4. And also, if you play knight c5, rook a1, then I go knight to d3, and the passive knight that was sitting on d7 is suddenly, a workhorse.
Yeah, making his dream career path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to win an Oscar for best supporting.
This is
knight b6. A surprise move for me. I thought knight c5 was more ambitious. Bishops of opposite color. By the way, white captured that knight like rapid fire. He wasn't interested.
Immediately. Now bishop f1 attacking the rook on d5. Where should the rook go?
No choice, gotta go home. But the problem, I'm really surprised that black played the move rook to b5. It was like you wanted to see the move bishop f1, and in this case, well, there's a pawn on a6 that is really beastly. Like if I were in white shoes, I would play some move like rook to c1. But I have to be worried about rook to g4 check, right? So rook to c1, rook takes b4, rook takes c6, rook g4 check. Because with the pawn on a6, I can never be worse. I mean, that the bishop on
The
a7,
passer.
yeah, will be passive. So
Yeah.
here, yeah,
that rook b5 looked totally like a waste of a tempo. Yeah, that was typically weird.
Exactly.
But now that I see it, yes, sir, this might be the explanation. Maybe it was a trick to force your opponent, to provoke your opponent to give you the e6 square. And now Jan Nepomuceno can simply advance his king.
True that. There's no question that having played e5, putting his double pawns to use, by the way, he does get to play king e6, but now, you know, the drawing tendencies of bishops of opposite color is frankly just really too strong, Dina. I think that this is a drawn game for sure. White will just play like h4 and well, nothing to say. King will come to g4, and I think a draw is for sure. Shall we look at a different board for a moment and see what's going on some of the other games?
Absolutely. So we've got Fabiano Caruana here facing Vasily So, as far as I remember. This is his nickname. And look at the position. Vasily has got an extra queen versus
I'm still counting.
rook and the knight.
Well, there's
and
two bishops,
two pawns.
bishops. Okay, so rook, knight,
and
two pawns versus the queen. But it's not just that. It's this pawn, this passer on d5. It goes to d6. And Roro, I mean, things could easily go wrong.
Oh, yeah. Also, look at the king. Whose king is weaker, actually? Absolutely black.
Yeah, definitely. So wait a minute. This looks like a terrible blunder. Bishop g4. Knight goes to e4, protecting the g5 square. You got it. Rook to g5 check. That's game over. That's game over. Knight e4 is a killing blow because rook g5 check. You have to go to h. Oh, you can also start with bishop d1, but yes,
nice.
Yes,
bishop d1 and then rook g5.
But another nice finish is maybe rook to g5 check, king to h8, bishop to e5 check.
You're gonna go for the king.
Yes.
Oh,
It could be very nasty. He did go, by the way, bishop to d1. That was also a very crystal clear move. Rook g5 check now, by the way, they're still mating. I think there's still a mating pattern after rook g5 check.
yeah, and there we go. Rook g5 happened on the board. And by the way, check. Fabiano is just 2 pawns up. So true. Whatever he chooses, he's in a winning situation.
Agreed. No question about it. And knight f6 check is just devastating. The bishop can come to e5, and now you're threatening a discovered check with the knight. And we don't know what happened to Wesley. That was chop, chop, and done.
Yeah.
That
was very fast. Let's jump into yet another action. We've got Grishuk Alexander facing Hikaru Nakamura. And look at this queen on d6. It looks totally amazing.
Oh, for sure. That is, wow. That is a very, very powerful queen indeed. And the move g4, by the way, is just when you have these space advantages that white obviously has, you make these little moves like g4 to stop black's queen from coming to f5 and just reduce all of the options. By the way, this is a real heavyweight matchup. To my mind, these two players are what I would call pre-tournament pre-tournament favorites. Okay, queen to d7. That queen on d6 is simply too powerful. Now the question is black threatening to trade queens? Because that would be a passer on d6. If white were to play the move knight d3 here and say, hey, you want to trade queens? Go ahead. Queen takes, pawn takes, the knight on d3 would be ready to jump to the e5 square, which will attack c6. And he's done it, knight d3.
He just hurt you.
I know, I have to speak a little softer.
Yeah.
Hate that when that happens. Yeah. Knight c5. Okay. So now the question is king f7, and where's the killer, Dina? How do you put black away? It's not that easy. The white king doesn't have an easy route into the game. The pawn on d4 stops going through the center. So king f7, it's not still white has to prove victory. It's not easy.
Yeah, I'm starting to be a little bit pessimistic here in this position, partially because of the evaluation bar showing me revealing all the secrets.
Exactly. I mean, it's very hard not to be tempted and looking at the valuation bar and saying, okay, then it must be draw. But it's one thing for the engine to sit there and say with perfect play, it's even. It's another thing to be sitting there as a player in black shoes saying, hey, look, like what's the right move that I have to make to hold the game. And by the way, king f4, knight e6, I think black has found the right fortress-like position. The king on f4 could not go to f5, very desirable, because the d4 pawn was hanging.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And look at this.
Black refused to repeat the moves.
Right? Knight g7. Maybe that suggests to me that black is considering knight to e8.
It is Hikaru. He is ambitious after all.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Trying to attack the d6, you were saying.
Yes, and then the question is, well, knight to e8, that's such a passive knight. It feels dangerous. Let me put it that way. Knight e8 feels like a dangerous move to play.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, yes, sir, the knight on a5, our knight, it is attacking the c6 indeed, but it is way more, let's say, out of the game compared to the knights on d8, which is not only protecting but also controlling the position since it is closer to the center.
Precisely, Dina. That's exactly the way I evaluate pieces, and I say, well, like, which piece is doing a better job than its counterpart? And then I start thinking, how can I get rid of my opponent's all-star piece? And how can I turn my lesser piece into something good? By the way, the players are playing this very difficult ending at a very brisk pace. They're making some very big decisions quickly.
Oh yeah, they have just traded all the pawns from the king side, and now we've got this group of pieces trying to figure out who is the boss on the queen side.
Exactly. Last move by black was prepping knight f5 check, which is why white's king came to the d3 square. And now what I think black wants to do is put his king on c7 so that knight b7 check will not disturb him.
It's no longer a threat.
Yeah, and then bring the knight on f5 towards the d7 pawn, like, something so that he can attack the d7 pawn, a move like knight g4 to f6, and he's done it. And now this is the problem. The pawn on d7, it just got slurped.
But somehow computer is still confident about this position. So what is the secret?
I think it's still a draw.
Fortress?
Well, 3 versus 2. There's just not enough material, frankly, left in the position.
As long as you do not trade the knights.
Yes, exactly. As long as you don't trade the knights, it should all be good.
Oh yeah, but the moment I saw white king going back to e3 and then d3, I realized that white was, did I say black? I meant white. White was slightly, giving this at least the psychological advantage to his opponent.
Not standing, but giving ground. Okay, but in this case, the problem that black faced is that he tried to activate his king as much as he could, And when he brought his king close, then white went knight a5 and a knight attacked the pawn on c6. Black could make no progress. And I think this is the same situation. King e2, a little surprising move, but okay. I think white should just move his knight back and forth between b3 and a5 and just say your knight is stuck, fixed to the c6 pawn.
But I like their perseverance, you know. Yasser, they're continuing no matter what.
Exactly. And in Hikaru's case, he's always bobbing and weaving, you know. He's got some good funky tunes playing, and
yeah,
he really enjoys playing these very, very lengthy games. I think Hikaru, one of his great achievements was absolutely phenomenal draw. His great achievements.
50 move rule.
Oh wow! He beat the computer.
Yeah.
He beat the computer on time in a 1+1 bullet game, and he made over 300 moves.
Wow.
Hikaru,
Wow.
Is that our conclusion of round 2, Dina? Have we gone through all the games?
Not necessarily. We still have one more game between.
Let's take a look.
A Spanish grandmaster. I think it's Anton David.
This is an easy win. Your
and
next
against
move.
Drew Alexeyenko, and that's it. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We have just finished the round 2.
And a lot of do we have a lot of 2-0s, or did players give up draws in that last?
We do definitely have a lot of 2-0s, but not that many. As far as I can see, we have 4 players with 100% score. That means we actually did not have so many resultative games.
Exactly. Well, I mean, again, the field is so close. But we're going to take a pause before our round 3. Wow, very exciting.
We'll be back in a minute. Do not go anywhere. Rapid Chess Championship is brought to you by Coinbase. Whether you are looking to make your first crypto purchase or you're an experienced trader, Coinbase has you covered. Earn crypto by learning about crypto with Coinbase Earn. Explore DeFi and Web3 with Coinbase Wallet. Get exclusive rewards when you spend with Coinbase Card and much more. Learn more at coinbase.com/chess and get $10 in Bitcoin when you sign up and verify your account. And yes, sir, we're back for the round 3. So far, we've got 4 players with 100% score, and everything's to be more and more tense.
Absolutely, as these players are battling to get into the knockout stages, what we might call the business side of things. This is the qualifier for tomorrow, as the top 8 players will go into knockout matches. And Dina, the action has been very, very fast. They say it's 10 minutes, but when you're sitting here commentating the game, I'm telling you, it feels like 4. It's just, I mean, somebody sped up the time space continuum here and just got it going as the play is underway. And wow, what do we have?
Oh yeah,
B4.
we have just seen the players on the screens. They're all concentrated as far as you can see. Some of them are streaming, some of them are only playing. And right now on our screens, we've got Livon Aronian with white pieces versus Arjun Erigaisi, the Indian player who was facing Yanni Bomnishi in the previous round. And there we go.
A7, A6, if that doesn't provoke A2, A4, I don't know what else will. When I was learning chess, one of the things that I was always told is don't play on the same side as of the board as your opponent. And the move A7, A6, to my mind, is giving white a real opportunity to do precisely that, which is to play on the same side of the board. Now this, wow, let's see the tactics. So B4, B5 is obviously winning a piece. But now with the move D5, black is threatening the pawn on E4. When he captures, he'll be capturing, threatening the piece as well. So the point is E5 attacks the knight moves. Then you want to play B5, but there is the jump knight C3. And that is awkward. Now here, I'm a pawn grubber. I will take the knight on E4, knight takes E4. And then I want to jump with the knight to G5, so that I can play knight takes E4. But, well, Livon
Knight
said,
takes D2.
I don't want the pawn. I'm not interested in the pawn. I'm interested in playing for B4, B5. White has a nice space. And if white can get in B5 and bishop B4, he will have, strategically speaking, a very, very nice advantage indeed. So maybe Livon's decision not to take on E4, which I second guess, was the right one. Again, I'm a pawn grubber. I would have taken the knight and played knight G5 and grabbed the pawn on E4. Livon said, don't need it.
No, you don't need it. This is so symbolical for me that we're working today together, because believe it or not, in every single game of mine recently, I am sacrificing the pawns. And you might be surprised, but this morning I was playing a game in the National League, an over the board game. And you know what? Yet again, I sacrificed the pawn for the compensation.
Okay. This is wonderful. This is really, really, really wonderful. I think a lot of people have a lot of difficulties with this, Dina. The idea is, I want to improve, right? Like, how do I improve? And I can see right away the training is going to work. Yeah. I'm going to convince you. Remember what Michael Tal said when he lost the return match in the World Championship. He said that every child of the Soviet Union was overjoyed because now the children could go back to protecting their pawns and pieces rather than having to sacrifice them.
Yeah, that's true.
The kids wanted to keep their pawns and pieces. Okay, white is dreaming of playing the move B5. I was about to make this wonderful speech that white was dreaming about playing the move B5. And that black had to get his knight out of the way to give his bishop some room. And then Livon played queen b2. The move b5, probably Livon did not want to win the queen. AB5, rook a1, queen a1, bishop b5, rook b1, bishop e2, rook b6. Would have been a queen sacrifice that Livon said, don't need to do it. And he went queen b2, but okay, did he make the wise decision? F7, F6, very good move by black. That bishop on G7 is crying, is saying, I don't have a role. I don't have any motivation. Do something, make me strong. And the move F7, F6, opening up the bishop was perfectly timed. Now, the question is, did Livon mishandle his position and give up his advantage?
I do not think so. At least,
Please tell me. Great. What? From Black's point of view, Black won a pawn. Yay!
Yeah.
That's me. And he's threatening to play e5 takes d4, winning a second pawn. And normally I'm happy with one.
Yeah.
Two is too much. Okay,
Mm.
bishop c3. The good news behind that move is it defends the queen on b2, making b5 takes c6 a possibility.
Yeah. And now e4 got attacking the knight. So the knight has to go. But yes, the bright side
Yes.
is our queen on b2 is protected. So
Precisely.
bishop cannot literally go anywhere.
The bishop is definitely trapped. No question about that. And one very important point, there was a rook on f8 a moment ago, and it was tickling the pawn on f2. So the move rook takes a8 was crucial to get the rook on f8 out of the way, so that there was no tricks with queen on b6 attacking f2, as well as rook on f8. So this bishop on c6 is trapped. That's absolutely clear. What will be the compensation at the moment? Just a pawn, right?
Yeah, and there we go. Finally,
And
Levon
it's an
decided
extra piece.
to get his lunch.
And what a delicious lunch it was.
Oh, yeah.
Rook takes c6. Definitely the first thing that comes to my mind. There is rook a2, and I just have to be sure that after rook c6, rook a2, rook b6, there's no tacticos.
You mean
in the
like bishop
position.
takes d4, bishop takes d4,
Yeah.
and rook takes e2.
Precisely.
That is interesting. But watch out for your king. You might not
Right.
want to lose another knight on f8 afterwards.
Good point. Absolutely. h4. So at the moment, it looks like it's just going to be, well, here it comes. The bishop takes d4, what you said.
Yeah.
Bishop takes d4 is forced, by the way. Rook takes e2. Now something like king f1 or g3. I would probably prefer king f1.
Activating your king in the endgame.
Yeah, it's not just that, though. It's always this idea, whenever I'm defending a threat, I'm defending mate in one. But whenever I'm defending a threat, I'd love to do it in a forcing way. If I can defend a threat, and at the same time create a threat against you, then that's what I want to do. So g3 would have been very good if you wanted to play g3, salute. But king f1 for me is a move that I want to make. It feels more natural. It feels more natural. And by the way, bishop e3, because the rook was forced to move, bishop came to e3. And I definitely want to play moves like rook f8, pardon me, rook b8 attacking the f8 knight. And this is over. This white is now completely winning the game. And there is what the Dutch might say, hopeless.
What does that mean?
Hopeless. It's hopeless.
Oh, right. The accents.
It's hopeless.
Be careful for your king, just in case.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything is under control.
Exactly. But here, white is actually scooping up pawns with check. So, for example, rook d6. Oh, I was about to say rook d6. Knight d3 doesn't actually have a threat. The knight on h3 somehow magically is ideal. It defends the pawn on f2. And this should be losing. Shall we look at another game? As I do expect white to comfortably bring home the bacon.
Yeah, speaking of the bacon, Hikaru produces a good one from time to time. Now he's playing versus Douglas, which is Daniel Dubov. And
wow.
Ooh, look at
as you would expect
Ah.
between these two great players, they've created a mess. They gave birth
Yeah.
to a mess.
Oh yeah.
Knight.
Wow.
Okay, what? Whoa, hold on. But
Knight b5 to c3.
that's a nice extra pawn sitting on d5, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was another one on
That's-
c7. You saw that they didn't take it. That was
Whoa.
curious.
Confusing. It looked edible.
Hmm.
But in any case, White is feeling like all he has to do is trade his way to a winning ending and just drag his opponent to his doom because of the extra material, that extra pawn.
Yeah. Now that we're watching this game, I just glanced at a very interesting matchup for me, Jan Nepomniachtchi
Please.
versus Chess Queen.
Oh, let's do it.
This is something I would be really curious to see. And plus, it is almost over, so Jan is about to win. Let us see.
Well,
Two extra pawns.
He's got this wonderful rook on a7, the knight on e5, beautiful outpost and extra pawns. Yep. This
Right.
this
Okay.
looks like it's over.
Now that my personal interest is satisfied, we can get back to Hikaru versus Dubov.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, and that's what makes it so much fun for me to be with you on the show, Dina. I mean, chess for me is perfect. It's a wonderful, wonderful sport with only one problem. Only one problem in chess, one weakness. We don't have enough ladies.
Oh.
We need more lady players. So, you know, for me to be here with you, and you are inspiring ladies to play. That's great. I mean, I love it. So it's nice. I think that Chess Online, especially, has given lady players more opportunities than they've ever had. It's always been a male-dominated sport. So it's really, really nice what's going on in chess. I love it.
No, thank you so much, Yasser. I really appreciate your kind words. But speaking, while you were saying that such a touching speech, we've got so many changes on the board, and seems like Hikaru lost his advantage.
It sure feels like he made a real, I'm going to just say mess. I mean, what did he do? Everything was harmonious and nice. And then suddenly he went knight b8. And I think he gave up the lion's share of his advantage now. And with this move, especially knight b4, it's a dead draw because the bishops of opposite color, again, the bishop is just going to go, I was about to say the bishop is just going to relocate to d6 and it would be a fortress. But this looks like a complete draw now.
Yeah. And now, by the way, you're very good at this diagonal because the d4 is a weakness.
A pawn, yes, exactly.
Yeah, you want the king to be attached to this weakness. Yeah, no, it's a draw. And we have seen this already, the opposite colored bishops here in the round 2, I believe. And yeah, soon draw is gonna be seen. I believe we can already jump to someone else.
Please, absolutely.
Like we've got Parham Maksulu versus Alexander Grishuk. What do we have here? Oh no, yet another opposite colored bishop.
It seems to be a theme of this tournament here. Bishops of opposite color, and with this pawn on e2, there is no threat of rook takes b5. Now there's a threat of rook takes b5, but this pawn, geez, this is really weird. My first impression is like, okay, come on, it's a draw, bishops of opposite color, but I'm not completely sure because this king on h5 is actually quite useful. On a good day, and I mean, I know it needs a good day, you go bishop to g2, bishop takes h3, and then the king has this wonderful path be g4. No, after this, it's just a draw. What?
Hmm.
I was expecting pawn takes g4 check, and the players can
Yeah, this is that kind of a case, Yasser, when you're asking myself, wait, who is playing for a win here?
right. It's not always easy and intuitively obvious.
Yeah,
Rook,
when being a spectator.
right. One trick there was not to play rook g5 check and rook takes g4 because of rook takes g3.
Yeah.
Whoa, this is
The deviation.
yeah,
Or
this
is
is
it-
really this is really
Okay.
bizarre. Somebody could get themselves mated here. Rook e7 check, and if you go king h6, bishop f4 check, and if
King
you go
h5?
king takes h5, rook e6, you've got the move g3.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
That was walking at the edge.
Yeah, walking dangerously close, flirting with danger at least. Okay, bishop f2, rook. Whoa, rook over. I think black was a little bit concerned that rook takes e2 was on tap. So he went
Yeah.
rook back to prevent rook takes e2. Now again, can't we set up some kind of a mating idea if we're white here?
At least I'm starting to understand why white is trying to play for a win here. Besides, Parker Maksulu has 30 seconds more than his opponent. So,
Yes.
and even if you look at this from strategical point of view, white pawns are, they're further away from each other. So they're more dangerous on a practical level. That's now, it's only one man.
Well, there went the important pawn. The a7 pawn I thought was absolutely key. If white had any winning ambitions, it had to be related to that pawn. But now, well, if I'm in white shoes, I would probably have played rook takes e2 there and just, made a draw with rook and bishop versus rook. But okay, an important victory, an important result between those two players because they're favorites in the tournament.
Yeah. And now there goes yet another result, and it is for Alexander Borkin, who has just made it Vladislav Kovarov. And that means, Yasser, that we have just finished the round 3.
Wonderful. I'm sure we'll come back very, very shortly, but that was another very fast-paced round.
Oh, yeah. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Bullet Chess Championship is back with exciting new twists. Now, a double elimination tournament, the event features 16 players like Hikaru Nakamura, Daniel Naroditsky, Fabiano Caruana, and many others race for the crown and their share of the $100,000 prize fund. Catch the next round of the Bullet Chess Championship on March 14, right here on chess.com. And that being said, yes, sir, we're now raiding into the round 4 of the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase.
In case Rapid Chess at 10-0 wasn't fast enough for you, the Bullet Chess is definitely going to raise the action level. As there we see the players on camera as they're getting ready for this round 4. It's been nice, and they're off already. Who do we have for this game?
Right, so we've got 2 players as having 3 out of 3 100% results. Ooh, and they are Livon Aronian and is it David Paravan?
David has been really consistent. And
yeah, that is
as we saw our leaderboards, we've seen incredibly consistent scoring by him and Fabiano, which is probably why they are in the top. But there seems to be a connection issue. I see the move d4 and a stop.
Yeah, this
no
is,
answer.
Let me update you. This is these are 2 players with white pieces. We've got Daniel Dewolf and the black Chiparinov Grandmaster. And seems like Chiparinov is running late for his game.
Seems like we'll just have to see
another game.
if he makes it. Yeah.
Let me show you. There we go. Livon Aronian versus Paravan. David Paravan. This is already middle game. Oh no, yes, sir. This is my favorite. The Scotch. I have it with 4 knights Scotch. They might as well, by the way. It's like 4 knights Scotch variation.
Exactly. The last move, Bishop d7, really, really wonderful. No issues, no problems with that move. But just saying, there's a lot to be said in that position for the move c5, c4, and even followed immediately with an exchange sacrifice, because the white queen side is completely obliterated after rook takes a4. But he's nothing wrong with the move bishop d7, and the players were just cracking out those moves, huh?
Oh yeah. Rook e8.
Rook e8. By the way, my spidey sense is tingling because there's some diagonal issues. The queen on a5 is tickling the rook on e1. Rook takes e1, rook takes e1, and I would be worried that there's some tactics, but Black said, no, I'm just going to drop back with my rook for now, and you go ahead and deal with the issues here. Queen takes c3 is not a threat because our favorite discovered check on h7 would pick up the queen.
Yeah, but, the dirty trick.
The dirty trick. But in time, the move d5, d4 is going to be a very awkward move to meet. And so white needs to find a solution here. Any suggestions? Would you play, for example, bishop f1 here, Dina? What's the first ideas that you're considering?
Yeah, bishop f1 is an option, but not necessarily immediately, because at the same time, you do not want to give away this diagonal in case black wants to activate their own bishop and put it on f5. I would suggest somewhere like the basic, somewhere knight e2, but you do not want to do it because there's going to be a very painful pin.
Right? Yeah.
It doesn't work either. Now, trading the rooks, maybe rook d1, activating the rook. For now, see what happens. And there we go. We have an answer, and it is a4.
So he's thinking that he has as a resource knight b5. I'm assuming white didn't play the move rook d1 because maybe he felt that the pawn on a2 could be a weakness after, for example, d4. So He played a4 first, and once again, queen takes c3 is a non-starter. Queen takes c3, bishop h7, and it's so painful when that happens. I think I've lost my queen probably, I'm going to say 12 times. I'm one of those people who believe that you can't make the same mistake once. You have to make it again and again and again to be sure it's a mistake. I mean,
So
you want to convince yourself.
You were following the very modern trade that goes on the online chess, sacrificing your queen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call it a sacrifice. I'd call it more like a blundering.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to put it nicely. Yes, sir. If we have time, you should tell me, where was your shortest game ever? Shortest loss ever?
My shortest loss. Okay. Thanks for giving me a heads up warning. I know I have to think about it.
Yeah, you have time. We have many games, many more rounds to go.
A7, A6. Black's a little bit unsure as well. And he says, okay, your move A4 supports a knight going to B5. I'll just take away the B5 square. But I'm not a big fan of the move A6. Why? Because I think the bishop on D3 kind of went, yay! You know, when you see a move like A6, the bishop on D3 has a role to play.
Yeah, so, that's for me. Okay, we got bishop A6. You know, here I wanted to suggest it, and now I'm especially putting your attention on this. C4 is going to be really annoying for white, and a very typical pawn break to weaken the pawn structure, this amazing pawn chain that white has right now.
Exactly. Bishop drop back to F1, prophylaxis, sidestepping the threat of C5, C4. Whether it's a threat or not, I'm not 100% sure, but in any case, just getting out of the way. And C4, Bobby Fischer, D4, pardon me, Bobby Fischer. You're gaining squares for black's pieces, but you're also giving white the option of, as you're pointing out, knight A3, knight C4, knight D2, knight C4. That's a big square, but it takes 2 moves to get there. Bishop F5, a move you pointed out some time ago, Dina, that if you're going to get your bishop on this F5 square, it comes with a very nice tempo against C2. Rook E1 is also on black's agenda, and I feel that black is the one who's taking over this game because of the dual threat, bishop C2 and rook E1.
Oh yeah, and that is a serious threat. Now knight A3 is not an option either, because there's gonna be queen B4 attacking the knight. And then if knight C4, then the C2 pawn is dropped. Oh, and there we go. White goes with rook C1. Was it the only possible move? It looks so passive, and yet maybe it was a must thing.
It looks grim indeed. Rook C1, rook to E1, queen to F4. I think
walking on the edge.
Yeah. White is just holding on by his fingertips, and I don't think he's doing a good job. Rook E1, queen F4, bishop C2 is one puzzle rush tactic that would favor black. Yes, you're pointing out that the knight on B1 would be hanging.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful one. Right, so black is thinking, is rook E1 not an only option for black now that black has an advantage?
One of the things I very strategic player, when I played the move D5, D4, I always ask myself, why did I play this move? I played this move so I could put a knight on C3.
Oh, and we've got it already today.
So knight to E4 to C3, going there with tempo, is one very attractive option, as well as rook E1. I think rook E1 has my first choice because, again, I'm a materialist. Give me your pawns, baby. But whoa, king H7, none of the above. Wow. King H7.
A prophylactical move. avoiding all the checks.
Yeah, I'm not that big a fan, I must say. King H7, when I'm looking at Knight E4 and Rook E1, and what was the worst thing that could happen to Black? That you give Queen D8 check and then I move my king. I don't think that Black, necessarily threw away a big advantage, but I think he threw away an opportunity. And maybe after this move C3, White's back in the game.
Right, but Black is still better. That is for sure.
But okay, here I can resist maybe a little bit with bishop to D3.
A pass pawn. That is interesting.
I was trying to block off that pass pawn. Also, in these positions where the Black king looks so comfy, it's all nicely tucked in and everything, the move H3, H4, to give that little discomfort of H5 crosses your mind and says, maybe you're too comfortable. Let me disturb you. Queen F4. Okay, that's a different approach. Was he afraid of Knight D2? I'm not sure what exactly he was fearful of, but Queen. Okay, now I've got to play Bishop C4. By the way,
to be honest, when I see all the pieces like this, a rook, a knight, and the bishop on the last rank, it makes me worry.
Good for you. That's exactly right. You should be worried. You don't want your pieces like in a Fisher random situation all on the first rank, and Black's pieces in your face. Knight on C3, queen on B4. And by the way, this is a very, very crucial moment now in the position. You would love to play Bishop H7, but Knight E2 is going to hurt your feelings.
Sorry. Fulfilling the collection. Exactly. Now that we're together in this boat, I have to be right. I have to follow.
Do you have that term as well, the royal fork and family fork for Knight E2 check?
I've definitely heard it, but not from the Soviet chess school that I come from.
Exactly. Knight C3. So knight takes C3, D takes C3. The problem is C3, C2. That's a real issue. I mean, that pawn is one square away from coronation. And but
you predicted it.
How are we going to deal with this? I can't play Bishop H7 because there's a pin along the fourth rank with the queen on the white queen on F4 is hanging. So he did play H4, H5 came quickly, and G4, and now it's a collapse. That's it. That is a beautiful move. Rook E4 is a killer blow.
That is painful. That is extremely painful.
Exactly. What makes it especially painful is when you play Rook takes G4 check, and then Rook takes C4 and C2. There's no way with the bishop on G6 that there's any counter against Black's king. Black's king is perfectly safe, and he's done precisely that. He's captured on C4. He's going to play C2, and you think that you're an exchange up. That rook on C1 is not a rook.
No.
That's a forlorn, unhappy, very miserable rook. It doesn't qualify as a rook. It's just a defender, and queen takes H4. See? Grabbing pawns.
Oh, but this is a game over. Here you can afford yourself. It's not like the very first pawn that you grab in the position.
No. And what White's going to... I'm impressed that White is still playing.
Is holding, yeah?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I usually don't see that in the top play. I would have probably played Queen E4 check on the last turn myself just going into the ending where you've got like 4 pawns or something. But this is wonderful. The queen on d3 defends the f5 square, making the last trick with f5 unplayable.
If by any chance you're hesitating to start sacrificing exchange, you don't know how rook can be weaker than a bishop, here is a good example for you.
This is a marvelous example. Very, very impressive game there. Very impressive. And for those of you who do appreciate exchange sacrifice, study the games with a great Tigran Petrosian. He made some wonderful exchange sacrifices. Okay, now that the king has been chased to the H file, this move rook to g4 takes c4, and I think we're going to see another one of those rook endings that's going to be a draw, because white's going to win the rook. White's going to win black's rook, but black's going to have these pawns on the other side that's going to win the rook back. Ooh, what is that? Is h7 not a move? Ooh, did I miss
It's all under control, I suppose.
It's all under. I didn't know there was. Oh, h7, you could take the rook. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
look at the time. Black need to hurry up. It's
And there it is.
Kirill
Oh,
Alexander here versus Garakamsky, and it just finished in a draw. We got more games. We still got more games. We have Fabiano Caruana facing Maxim Matlakov. Matlakov is with white pieces. Oh, yet another exchange. Oh, wow. That evaluation part jumping so fast. Yes, sir.
I was about to say, how did that white king somehow, that white king is on some magical mystical tour, as I don't know how it got to b6. Bishop c6. Ooh.
Oh boy.
It's
6 seconds for Matlakov.
And it's and he's playing for the time is white.
Fabi's playing for time.
Oh my gosh. So he's gonna make what he's gonna do, draw.
Revelation. Oh, yes, sir. This might be a case of fair play, Maybe Fabi was, let's say, loyal and repeated the moves on purpose to, you tell me there is no loyalty in such tournaments without any increment, right?
True that. When these players win on time, they don't say, oh, I'm sorry, I won on time. They go, yes, I won on time. These tournaments without the increment is completely different kind of a chess, as it shows great skill that you can force your opponent to lose on time. So I think it's a completely legitimate way of winning, playing for the flag. I'm sorry, but hey, if you don't make all the moves, you lose.
Yeah, and that is how it goes. Either way, that has been a round 4, and now we have a soul reader who is Levon Aronian with 4 out of 4. Round 5 is going to start very soon, but before that, let us take a very short break. Welcome to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. And to be more precise, welcome back. Yes, round 5 is about to start. Who do you think is gonna win the whole thing?
Well, I tell you, Levon is really impressing as all, as he has 4 out of 4. I mean, you can't get better than perfection. And we've seen some really, I want to say, good chess. Again, it's 10-minute games, but a lot of the games, to my mind, have been very precise and wow, games I would be proud of as we catch up. Who do we have in our first game for round 5 here?
Oh yeah, that is very accurate. So we have the winner winning, who's the solo reader, and he's with 4 out of 4 versus Daniel Dubov, 3.5 out of 4. And Daniel Dubov apparently has won a game versus Chiprianov by a single move, d4, 1d4, 1-0, wins the game.
And a disconnection or a failure to connect. Because I wanted to ask you about that, Dina, because that was the game that we were anxiously going to watch. We saw the move d4 and then no response. So that was a walkover, I guess. Move a7, a6. It's a prophylactic move because white wants to play knight on f3 to e5, attacking the queen, and then to follow it up with the move bishop on f1 to b5 check. So the move a7, a6 was designed to stop that 2-move threat. And, well, okay, there's another way he could check, and he did it.
Yeah,
he bishop b5, queen a4 check. I'm assuming we're going to see bishop d7, and after knight takes d7, queen takes d7, inviting a trade of queens. Any
and
particular
there we
preference?
go.
Yeah, any particular? Are you a 2 bishops?
Oh yeah, oh
yes?
yeah, without any doubt. Oh yeah.
Really? Okay.
I've been studying those end games. Plus, here not only you have 2 bishops, but also 3 pawns versus 2 on the queen side. So it's like a +1 easy.
Wow. Okay. So very, very enthusiastic 2 bishops. One of the really great world champions, Viswanathan Anand, who, by the way, won 9, count them, 9 world championship titles, 5 as world champion, but he also won Rapid and Blitz and junior championship titles. He liked the knight. He liked his knights. So in this position, he would probably, as black, I was going to say, start with a move like castles, but angle for the possibility of bishop to c5. Bishop c5 immediately hangs the pawn on g7. So you have to make it's not nice to make such a move, but you have to make a move kind of like rook g8 to prepare the move bishop e7 to f6 or bishop to c5. I don't like the move e5.
Oh, right. And there we go with rook g8.
Yeah, I don't like the immediate e5 because bishop h3 in the future I'd find that disturbing.
Yeah.
So rook g8.
Oh, yeah. Totally get you there. But we have time. Black has time. This is interesting. I'm still definitely in favor for white. You did not manage to convince me, but I do definitely see your point now.
Yeah. Now, after this move, bishop to e3, what white wants to do is meet the move bishop c5 with the tactico, rook takes d7. Oops.
Oh, a little nice, yet another puzzle rush.
Ouch.
There we
don't
go.
Get points for those puzzle rush.
Unfortunately, we can make, a small competition just between us.
Exactly. Okay, may the best commentator win. Bishop g2. At last, white is ready. In these positions, don't be in a rush to castle. Oftentimes, the king is perfectly safe on the e2 square. And if white had castled, it would have been okay, but maybe you're just actually, in a sense, deactivating your king. You're putting your king away from the action.
Ah, I see your point.
Knight c4. Okay, tickling the b2 pawn, as well as the e3 knight. Since you're a gal who likes the two bishops, bishop c1 would be on your agenda.
No, please,
Yes.
no. I do not want to make such a move.
Go back.
I start getting you. Yeah, slowly I start getting you there. You're provoking me to make more weaknesses. You're chasing my pieces, forcing them to go backwards, and this is not nice at all.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right, but on the other hand, if you're preserving the two bishops, you're waiting your chance. After a move like bishop c1, you will have b3 on your agenda. So it's the type of move that at first you're, gosh darn it, why do I have to play such a move? And then later it's like, okay, I did it for a good reason. I did it to preserve my bishops. h5, that's a demonstration that move says I can't follow up with what I'm doing on the queen side with anything spectacular. So just h5.
Yeah, and pretending you were going for a creating second weakness role.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but in the end of the day, if everything changes, who has the two bishops? You do not want to open the position.
Well, at this moment, it's suddenly become very concrete. Black is ready to play knight to b5, tickling the pawn on c3, as well as bishop to f6. If you play the move c3, c4, then black would be ready to play the move knight f5. And again, black is looking at the d4 square. Hence, rook to d3, just protecting the pawn on c3. But again, bishop f6 is now on black's agenda. I can't imagine any other move than bishop f6 for black here.
Bishop f6. Who will be in favor of rook straight?
Good question, Dina. I'm not sure.
Also, watch out for b7.
Precisely, as we've also got to watch out for c3. So it will have to be calculated, that is for sure. But no question that black needed to play bishop f6, because if white got in the move a2, a4, for example, for free, and then just kick the knight back, then white would definitely have an advantage. Okay, bishop b2. Most grandmasters don't like what we would call a self pin, but in this case it was the right decision. He didn't want to play the move d4.
One.
Yeah, he didn't want to play c4. Yeah,
absolutely.
Necessary, that's right.
Yeah. Now rook d8 is the question, because both white and black have a couple of weaknesses. Now a4 is correct, and seems like white is slightly, as we say, making your hands free, liberating yourself.
Liberating. Okay. I'm not 100% sure I understood the move h4, by the way, by black. I mean, he's been playing h5, h4 whenever he doesn't know what to do. But there's a rule that you shouldn't put the pawns on the same color as your bishop. So for example, if white plays the move g3, g4 in this exact moment, then you put your pawn on h4, and maybe that was not a wise decision. But here we are seeing, well, in my opinion, white's playing this two bishop position very well, Dina. I mean,
oh yeah,
is keeping black under pressure.
Absolutely. And now that white is thinking, may I suggest f takes g3
Please.
in order to create a second potential passed pawn? And there we go. It happens.
Good call. Good call. Knight to c6. Okay, I am thinking that the knight is jumping to the e5 square, So I'm thinking that bishop f4 is a kind of a funny way of trying to coax e6, e5, and then you're occupying the square that the knight wants to jump to. h2, h4. This was the follow-up you had in mind, right, Dina? You wanted to get in h5 and g4, and maybe on a good day, g5, h6.
Good
Things
day.
are definitely heating up here. How do you like White's play so far?
And now that you're saying it, the rook is putting herself under a pin, hitting even more. Yeah, things are going really precise here. Also, the c3, watch out for that one.
Right, but okay, knight c6 tickles the rook, but there is rook. Yes, exactly. Rook c4.
You know,
Rook to
Yasser,
c4.
one thing
Please.
I am sure about in this position is that black rook is not doing great at all.
No, exactly. Black went h5, h4, and I'm sure Black did that with the intention of opening up the h line and bringing his rook into activity. The fact that the black rook still remains passive is really dangerous. Like, you've got to do something. Maybe now's the time for g5. Is it?
Oh, bravo! You guessed it. It's g5. H takes g5 is
Bishop
necessary.
takes g5.
Bishop
Yeah,
takes
hg5
takes, and then it's gonna be a really nice job for the rook. Looks like Danya has heard me, or you, both of us.
We'll speak softly. It feels more and more, especially this move g5 was really nicely timed. Feels more and more like the game's heading towards a draw. Still early days, but I can imagine a lot of pieces getting traded on g5 and maybe c6 as well.
And Levon is thinking, and I'm asking myself, what is his choice? Does he consider bishop takes c6 first as an intermediate?
Yes, exactly. He's also considering bishop takes g5, bishop takes g5, and not h takes g5, but rook to g4.
Oh, wow. That is a really nice one. Yeah, I definitely did not see it. Okay, and there's gonna be some wild lines like f6.
Right,
and then
you've got to calculate those captures. But I'm sure it's going through his mind. Do I interpose bishop take? Oh. Do I say bishop takes c6? I guess that was a timely draw offer.
Okay, so that is what he was thinking at.
Yeah, we didn't know what he was considering that move. That was okay. That's a surprise.
Makes perfect sense.
Now we know what's going on. All right, what other games are currently in progress, Dina? Take it away.
Yes, at least we can move on to the next games. Right, we've got Lion Beast MVL versus David Paravan. Ooh, and yet another endgame. What do we have here? This king and d5, I really love it.
I love that. Makes a great impression indeed. The bishop on d4, unfortunately, from White's perspective, is doing a great job at defending the pawn on c5. So the move rook d3 is a precursor to moves like bishop c3, as well as the move you were about to point out, bishop b4, Dina.
Yeah, that was a beautiful one.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely worth considering, no question about it. And he put his bishop on g3. Okay, now I'm confused. Whoa, there's a threat of f5, discover check, and alert, there's a checkmating pattern, king c8, king c6, threatening rook b8 mate. So puzzle rush alert.
No way, that looks really dangerous and seems like there is no way to defend it. Ooh, seems like Yasser, we're tuning in the right moments.
Exactly. This looks like a mating pattern for me. So you go f5, and in case of g takes f5, you go rook check. And in case of king e8, you go king c6, and you set up a checkmating pattern. And he's done it. F5 on the
Bravo.
board.
Bravo,
Uh-oh.
Maxime.
Yeah. By the way, Maxime, he's one of the great puzzle rush solvers. He's really good. Did you ever see him do the stream where he puzzle rushes in 5 minutes and makes 63 routine?
Oh yeah, that does not surprise me. You know why? He became a World Blitz champion. You do not become someone like that if you're not so good at tactics. It's such an easy tactics, you know.
Exactly. And look at this. He's just about ready to play. I do believe the move King C6. You've got it highlighted. King C6, F6. And now we understand why Rook G1 was played. King C6, F6, White would play G6 otherwise, but Rook G1 stops that. Now, here it comes. Where is the... You can't go to F8. Oh, you can. It's protected. I apologize.
Oh, because
the
of
rook
the
is
rook
protected.
E1, our favorite
Okay.
dirty tricks.
Yes, but this is nasty. White just captured a pawn, and you can't play bishop F6 because, as you said, dirty tricks.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, black in deep, deep trouble here.
And
White,
this rat is easy. Just move away your rook, push the pawn and queen.
bingo, you said it perfectly.
Yeah. Seems like we can move on to the next game.
By all means, this looks like it's White's victory, to be sure.
We got an amazing party here between two very popular streamers, Hans and Danya. But unfortunately, yes, sir, we're pretty late because seems like everything is going to be finished very soon in a quick draw.
Well, that may be the case, but
You think
give
it's
me
not
the extra
over?
pawn.
Ah.
No, I just like to be on the sunny side of the torture. I mean, if there's going to be a draw, you know, give me the extra pawn.
Yeah,
And
there's
that was
this-
a very good move. King A6 saying to White, okay, exactly how are you going to make progress? It's
In
not
the-
an easy answer.
In the meantime, I'm looking at the score and I'm a little bit surprised. Both of the players have only 1 point out of
What?
4. That doesn't sound like them.
Wow. Goes to show once again
Hmm.
how extraordinarily strong this event is. I would have probably on my last turn not played Rook B3. I probably played H4 and H3.
This is a win, theoretical win.
It should be.
Oh wow! I thought it was a Philidor position. Like-
No, because you're threatening to play B6 and King B7. Oh, what was that? Draw on the spot. No, he made a mouse slip. He was supposed to play King B7 instead of B6, B7. If he played King B7, it was an easy win. Like right here, you
Yeah,
just go King B7.
B7.
And now you
Mhm.
move your rook, and then you give a rook check on the D file, and you build a bridge, and
Wow.
Lucena position is easy win. But that mouse slip, we've seen a couple, Dina. They've been very painful.
Yeah, but you know, yes, at this position when Black King and Black Rook are controlling the B6 square, I've always thought it was a Philidor position. It's drawish.
I always thought of the Philidor position when you have like a rook on the third or
Yeah, but
sixth
the
rank.
second, you know, the second way of making
Right.
the draw, the difficult one. That one is an easy one, but yeah, either way, it didn't work here. What a game!
Whoa, what a
You were
finish to a
right.
round.
It was an extra pawn. You were right.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Okay.
Well, a finish to round 5, Dima.
Yeah, let us take a look at the standings. We've got Levon Aronian as a sole reader again, but with 4.5 out of 5, he did make a draw. And that means before we start the round 6, we need to take a break and be right back. And welcome back to Rapid Chess Championship. We have it presented by Coinbase. And before we dive into the round 6, yes, sir, we should take a look at what is waiting for us tomorrow, because everybody is fighting for something. So what are they fighting for?
Well, absolutely. They're fighting for one of 8 places. They want to finish the Swiss in the top 8 so that they can play knockouts tomorrow, knockout elimination matches. And in these matches, you don't get to come back. You lose the game, you're done. So that's the business end of things, and a lot of money up for stakes. But let's dive back into the round, because round 6, Dina, has started.
Oh, yeah. And at the same time, we have on the cameras many top players such as Chess Queen, MVL, Leslie So, Yan Nepomniachtchi, David Paravian, Fabiano Caruana, and Daniel Naroditsky. And the last one, I do not recognize him because it is a very nice white chair. So, jumping into the round 6.
Yes, very nice white chair indeed. I like that kind of soft Corinthian leather. Very nice. Looks like a Queen's Indian with the knight a6, kind of what we call in America the burn variation. A shout out to New York Times columnist Robert Byrne for introducing this idea of knight a6, where you want to play c5 and then recapture with the knight on a6. So at the moment, still, I believe this is a theoretical battle.
Oh, yeah. And this diagonal is really, really nice. I really enjoy it. We've got, well, Fabiano is half a point behind Danya. But...
Exactly. He's a point off the pace when you think of Levon, right? Levon, as you said, at the top, giving up only a single draw, 4.5, and leading a chasing field.
That's correct. We have just seen c7, c5.
Right.
Happened on the board. Now, there is a possibility for Black to get hanging pawns, which are sometimes, or no, sometimes a force. What is going to be it here?
So the hanging pawns you're referring to, Dina, are in case of d4 takes c5, you can play b6 takes c5. I never understood the term, what hanging pawns meant, because they're not hanging. Usually they're usually well defended, but were they also called hanging pawns when you were studying chess?
Yeah, it's something like that is like hanging on the wall, definitely. But
okay,
it is the same word. I see what you mean. It is the same word. Then when a pawn is attacked, it is hanging. In Russian, it's the same word as when there are these two connected pawns which are potentially weak.
Okay, intriguing. By the way, he did not go for the hanging pawns. He did use the Robert Byrne prescribed method of recapturing the knight. In Black is thinking, I want to play the move knight on f6 to e4, so that I can then play bishop on e7 to f6, and all my pieces will be, well, maximum, and rook to e8. It'll be an isolated pawn. The pawn on d5 is the isolated queen pawn, but that isolated pawn covers a very nice square e4. So it's time, I think, to occupy e4. If you want to play bishop to d6, that's also a very decent turn, as it does threaten g7, g5. It comes with a little trick, bishop d6.
Yeah, and somehow I start liking Black, and I wanted to say that before I saw the g5 happening on the board.
Oh, it was played immediately? Whoa. Whoa. Okay. That is nice. So the idea is bishop to e3, d5, d4, and row is a piece trapped. Is that right? Are we calculating that right? Seems so, right?
Ooh, there must be something going on that we do not
There's a
see.
lot. There's a lot of tricks in the
Oh
position.
yeah, look at that knight c6 after bishop takes b7, knight takes b7 and knight c6, attacking the queen and the d4 pawn. So no, you're not taking my bishop on e3.
However, bishop to e3, d4, bishop takes b7. I don't have to take the bishop on b7. I can take the bishop on e3.
Ouch.
And now, well, it's not you take my rook. I could take your knight. You can take my knight. It's a lot to calculate. The move g7, g5 certainly, how do you say, spiced up the game considerably.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, who calculated the variation best? Wow.
For now, it is Dania who is calculating, and he, by saying that, I asked myself, does he have a choice? He does. Thank you, Dania. B4.
Exactly. So white says, you can take my bishop, I'll take your knight. And you can take my pawn on g. Well, okay, the move g5 does win material because okay, black can move the knight, but he could also take the bishop. And after b4 takes c5, he can take on g3.
Nice.
That does invite c6, but that will be a pawn. That will be a pawn win for black.
Yeah.
But look at that. Are you one of those players that likes moves like g5? Exposing your king?
No, absolutely not. That is not my cup of tea.
Good. Okay, that's very good. Nice to hear. It means the training. We will make our little adjustments. But this is also a pawn. Bishop takes b4. Thank you.
That is your type of a pawn, right?
No, no. I have to correct you. Any type of pawn is good. I don't mind if it's doubled or trebled. Give it to me. Knight b3. I like this move because basically this move says I want to play f2, f4. I want to play f4. Why do I want to play f4? Because the move g5, exposed your king. And so that's the compensation that white has. But what white is also saying is I need to control the d4 square so that d5, d4 doesn't ever, initiative. It turns the tables against me. Yeah. So here, if I'm white, I definitely want to play the move f4. Knight d3, you've got knight d3. Knight f3.
Oh, nice. That is, once again, underlining the importance of this d4 square that you just mentioned earlier.
Sure. But it is, well, it's like a deep breath. You go, oh man, I wanted more compensation. Knight f3 does feel like a step backwards. Now, on the other hand, if you do manage to establish a knight on a d4, Dina, knight to f5 will be a nasty move to meet.
And this is where he's heading.
Exactly. Okay, here I don't want to see a knight land on f5. I either trade it or play knight to g7, one of the two, but I really don't want to see knight land on f5. Then I start to get worried about, like very seriously worried about my king.
Now, yes, sir, considering that the valuation bar is in black's favor, and black has just grabbed a pawn, but we clearly see the f5 square invasion. May I ask you, honestly, which color do you prefer here?
Give me the pawn. Give me the pawn. Dina, I have to explain to you that I spent like 2 years coaching Viktor Korchnoi. And Viktor Korchnoi would walk through the Gobi Desert to win a pawn. barefoot. He
Okay,
loved
that is-
pawns that much. So he kind of indoctrinated me that, yes, but I hear you. You're making a very good point. The F5 square is huge. And you land a knight on the F5 square and you aim a direct attack against Black's king, and you start to feel good about your chances.
Yeah, this is that kind of a case where you have the actual evaluation of the computer and the practical evaluation by the human beings, and also the aspect that this is like, okay, it was rapid, but it is now already blitz time control. So you put all these factors together, and only after you can make a proper evaluation, to me.
Yeah. One other aspect, though, about rapid chess, and I really, really want to emphasize this, is having the initiative is so important in rapid chess. It's sort of like when you're on the back foot, you're constantly double checking and triple checking your moves, that you're not hanging something and you're not blundering. And when you have the initiative, you're playing much, much more freely. And it just goes better. So I would say that a lot of players would prefer to be white here and just simply having the initiative.
Oh yeah,
because of rapid chess. I mean, I want to emphasize that.
Yeah, now, and the same goes for blades.
Yes, and bullet, especially in bullet. Boy, the ability to make threats is crucial. Here, I just wanted to say this move, d5, d4, is simply huge. I cannot overemphasize that the pawn on d4 shuts this bishop on, on b2 down, and it's not as effective anymore once the pawn gets to d4. So we just see this move, rook d1, idea e3, hoping to open up the bishop. And here you have to calculate if bishop g4, it looks double-edged, but bishop g4, if he went bishop a6, as same idea, I wanted to attack this pawn on e2, so that in case you played e3, I could go d3.
Yeah,
nice.
I think the biggest change in this game has happened while we were having this very deep speech. It was when b6 pawn went to c5, and the whole structure changed. It became the connected pawns, the passed pawns, and in a way also hanging pawns. And this was the turning point when everything went wrong for white.
Exactly. And knight takes f2 is a very good tactical shot. Normally speaking, you're not trying to play queen versus two bishops and a rook, but in this particular case, it's not just about the material force. It's the fact that white's king is really in trouble. You go king, for example, to f2, there's queen e3 check and d3. You go king to c2, and you start to think, okay, what about queen to b3?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Basically everywhere. It's all coming. It's just the king is so weak. It's funny, I had this same situation, one of the lines in one of my games, probably last summer, and I made the wrong choice. I thought, like, no, I won't sacrifice it. Two bishops and the rook must be stronger. But in fact, I totally underestimated the importance of the open king and queen together with a pawn. So here it's absolutely winning for black.
Yeah. Looks like queen came to f2, the king. If I'm white, I start throwing caution to the wind. And I start thinking to myself, okay, I've got to get my king crazy. I'm going to go on a crazy march with my king. And king a4, king b5. Likely I'm going to lose the game, but I can't let my opponent just calmly waltz in. Like, the game is so easy for my opponent if I try to play conventionally. And I liked what white just did in a desperate situation.
Oh yeah. Oh
These
yeah.
pawns are
And
coming though.
here-
It looks like Space Invaders. Dun it, dun it, dun it. Sorry, go ahead.
It is like 5 queens incoming.
Incoming. Yep. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I think we can easily jump to another game.
Okay.
We got our favorite commentator, Grandmaster Benjamin Block, here with
Oh,
white
yes.
pieces. Against Anton Damchenko and the one who left Zubov helpless. And
Yes.
what is happening here? Look at these bones. And the
Right,
bishop is
I-
on the arrow. Whose king is weaker, as always? The ultimate question.
I'm trying to come to the zen of the position myself. It's dare I say it's terribly double-edged. But what is happening? Whoa!
Uh-oh, a poison bishop.
Rook takes f2. I'm really fearful.
Was this the
that-
bug?
Yeah, that he may have intended rook b8, but here I'm really fearful that the move rook takes g2 is a winning threat. But okay, still lots of whoa. But
No,
now there's
not
rook
so easy.
d8. Not so easy because queen on g6 also defends c2. Sorry. So I can play, for example, rook c3, tickling the knight, and in case of rook f8 check, I can meet that with rook to f8. So rook c3,
It's
and
happening.
he's done it. Rook c3 is on the board.
8. And after
Rook
3,
f8,
rook g7.
rook
Desperate
g7.
attempt.
Yes, but the nice part about that move, it got the queen off of the diagonal where the knight was in a, we have the expression in English, eternal, the eternal pin. You're never getting out of that. So the exchange sacrifice may not pay dividends, but I think it was a necessary one. Queen, oh, that's a gorgeous move. Rook on c3 to c2. That I think ends the
Game
discussion.
over. G6 is reading my mind over and over again, but yet it's not helping him. Unfortunately. Yeah, it's a game over for Benjamin. Very big pity. And I guess we can jump to someone else.
Okay.
And we've got 3 more games ongoing. Let's take a look at Danya. 1.5
Well,
points.
it's this 2-pawn advantage, c4 and b4 and rook check. Oops. Easy win, but it's all about the clock, right?
Yeah, and it's
16
Alexei
seconds.
Dre for face. Oh no, it's gonna be a loss. Bravo, Danya. 2.5 out of 6. I do not think Danya is happy now with his score, but it's a nice flagging skill. As always.
Flagging skill. I tell you, I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it takes a lot of skill to push these top players over the time limit. And hey, that's part
Part of a
the
job.
rules. Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you lose on time in 5-minute chess, don't be angry with your opponent. Be angry with yourself.
Yeah, that's business, nothing personal. And by
Nothing
saying that,
personal. But when you lose to somebody, it's very personal.
yeah, but not for a winner.
Not for the winner.
Yeah, it's time to take a short break, Yasser, for us,
All right.
and be right back in a minute. Chess.com's coverage of the 2022 Candidates Tournament is coming this June. Watch the top players compete for their chance to face Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship title. Tune in to chess.com/TV to enjoy exclusive footage of the playing hall and expert commentary on every move. And by saying that, yes, sir, may I welcome you to the round 7.
I'm very happy to be here with you, Dina. Let's do it. As the rapid chess has been going at a great pace. And I'm telling you, I think the time just flies by during these events. There's so much chess action going on, and let's jump right into it.
Yeah, we're enjoying a very great time. There were these moments when we were lacking chess, but now we have it all over and everywhere.
Exactly. And the game that you have on your board, this is from the Berlin, a famous game that appeared between Hikaru Nakamura and world champion Magnus Carlsen from the 2013 Sinkfield Cup. And Magnus defended the game just so very well. You kind of thought to yourself that white never had an advantage, but much like yourself, Dina, white is enjoying the 2 bishops for the moment. The bishop on f1 isn't the greatest piece, but when it's ready to jump into the game, bishop h3, and on a good day, the f pawn could be weak.
Oh yeah. Now what white would need for the long run is to push the pawns and, let's say, open something somewhere, open the position, because for now,
the queen side?
Yeah, on the queen side, because for now I would say that the position is closed. In the closed position, I mean, one open file, closed position, knight is better than the bishop.
Whoa, because I see this, my spidey sense is tingling. Queen takes f5.
Ooh,
You attack my rook, I defend my rook.
is that a trap? G6?
G6.
And then knight
on f6.
you take. Wait, how?
F6. So queen f5, G6.
Wow.
Yeah. You follow. Yes. But that could get into bishops of opposite color. So maybe it's not just a blunder of a pawn, but queen takes f5 is definitely, I mean, that's the first move that comes to mind. And you just kind of think to yourself, you attack my rook, I defend my rook.
Yeah. Okay, Maxim is thinking, so nothing is that obvious.
Right.
Not for him, at least.
He's wondering once more about queen f5, g6, queen h3.
But then you've got my amazing knight jump, exactly.
Right. Then you go knight to either g4 or e4, what you're pointing out.
Yeah.
And you start calculating the ramifications. I don't know how dangerous it is, so to speak, but queen f5, g6, queen f6 check is definitely better for white. Would it be winning? Not sure. Just not sure.
Right, but let's get back to your variation. Queen f5, g6, queen takes f6. We're trading everything. We go bishop c3. We go to bishop d8.
And I guess I'm going bishop h3 in that case too. Okay, he thought about it. I mean, there was definitely, I mean, he realized that queen takes f5 was not only legal, but potentially very, very good. But there was something about it that just didn't quite feel right. And rook e2 was played, and g6 came very quickly. It's sort of like, hey man, if you're not going to take my pawn, I'll defend it.
It might have been even a pre-move, you know, because in any case it would be working in all the moves, but oh yeah, but that would be pretty much gambling.
Yeah, it would. G6, okay. Let's figure it out for white. Whenever I see these types of positions, the move that always comes to my mind is queen e3. Why? Because number one, and most importantly, in half open positions, I want to control the open file. So queen e3, major pieces on the open file. Secondly, what you're showing and demonstrating is the queen on e3 is tickling the pawn on a7. So you kind of go, okay, so that's why queen e3 is like the first move to come to mind. Bishop e6, what you proposed, and a king g8, good move. And black is just still, this bishop on f1 is not involved.
Yeah, the bishop on f1 is not doing great. But, you know, I've learned recently, but there are closed positions and there are closed positions that will become open soon. And these two should not be confused between one another.
Right. So what you could be talking about is a position where nothing has been traded, but the pawns are all opposing and in tense with one another, so that what you say, it could be open very quickly. There are other positions that are closed where all the pawns are locked up, and there's not a really big potential of the pawns of the position blowing open. By the way, bishop c3 does set up the potential of winning a pawn with bishop takes f6 and queen takes b7. So just some little nagging consideration there.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, summarizing, bishop f1 for now is not nice, but there is no guarantee that the d3 and the c2 pawns will not be traded. And in that case, the bishop would be, you know, living his second life.
Exactly. Yeah, on a good day, exactly what you're pointing out, when you can reposition your pawns on c2 and d3. Okay, bishop c3. Once again, the threat is bishop takes f6. Question for black is, should black force the issue? Queen e7, rook e7, rook f7, bishop f6, rook f6, rook b7, and then there is the move f4. Instead, he played, wow, d4. Whoa. Okay. As white, I am thrilled. Like, no, seriously, I am really, really thrilled. The bishop on f1 is also making big cheers, like, woohoo, look at me. As soon as I go bishop g2, I'm going to be an all-star bishop. Very dangerous move, this move d4. It could easily go very wrong, but we'll see how good or bad is it. And by the way, black is desperately trying to force off the rook trade.
Yeah, this d4 is definitely in white's favor. And oh, wow. Do you see the speed with which rook a1 was played?
Exactly. He was thinking, but I'm not a big fan of the move. I would have probably, if I wanted to keep rooks, I would have probably played rook d1 first, followed by king f1, followed by rook a1 and a4. But okay, no harm, no foul. After rook e2, rook d1, knight g4 was not the follow-up. And now white can get back to the business that he wanted, which is a4, as you're pointing out, followed by rook a1. Essentially, white's saying that he likes his position very much, but he wants to keep as many pieces on the board as he can. So a4, b4, rook a1, a5 is what's on white's agenda. How is black going to counter this?
How about our favorite knight to d5? You know, every single time today we see the d4. Well, at least what I learned from you so far is that knight should come just after.
Exactly. You got it. I'm with you 100%. And here I'm thinking that after I see this move c4, I'm a little bit relieved. Frankly, I don't think the move c4 was very good, because when you are playing with the two bishops, and this is so crucial to keep in mind, when you're playing with the two bishops, you always want to be in a position where you can open up the position. So c4, it takes away your opportunity to play c3, and that's why I don't like it. Black said, what a great square, the c5 square. Let me put my knight on the c5 square and I will be golden. Bishop a5, maybe bishop d6.
Yeah, you see, you're relieved. I am not relieved at all. I see the preference of yours for the knight.
Exactly. Knight c5 might be okay. Here we go. Bishop a5. Whoa, bishop a3. That's a surprise decision.
Rook b1 should be coming soon.
I'm thinking that Black wants to play the move b6. Well, wants is a strong word. Maybe he's forced to play, and that was why he played rook e6, Dina, to cover, protect the pawn on c6. So
yeah, that was very smart. Ooh, c5 saying bye to your bishop on a3.
Wow.
What is this? A desperate attempt to trade the c5 pawn to d4 pawn, or is it just a rook left? But then you got a mate in one.
I'm not a big fan of this move c5. I think it's a bad move, frankly.
Let me give you the line. Rook c1.
Well,
and then bishop b2. Let's say 2 moves in a row, and then knight takes c5, and rook takes c5, and then the rook e mate. The rook e1 mate.
One mate. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, knight to e5 was a really, really good move. I also thought knight f6. But yeah, this move, c5, the bishop on, did you hear the cry? Do you talk to your pieces, Dina?
Oh, of course, every time.
Every time. So did you hear the crying bishop on a3 when White played the move c5? You almost
that
heard
was
it
very painful, like a baby
painful.
who was
neglected. Yeah,
by his parents.
Right, orphaned. I mean, the bishop on a3 said, "What about me? What did you do? What have you done?" And I think
the world is so cruel.
Right. I think that the game is turning in Black's favor. And if I were in Black's shoes, I really, really would want to play the moves g5 and f4. The reason is that when I get that structure, the knight on e5 can't be kicked away. He decided to put his king maybe on c7 so he can protect the b7 pawn from a possible rook b1.
Okay, that makes sense. The only weakness you have, you're protected by the king that doesn't have any other business to deal with for now.
Exactly. But I did like g5 and f4. I didn't think that White was going to drop the pawn on d3. Okay, this is actually still a very double-edged position. And these two players, by the way, if you were to write a book about their games, it would be a trilogy. They have played some incredible matches. And think of their World Cup match that went to like triple death, overtime, Armageddon. It was an unbelievable World Cup match that they played.
Yeah. I mean, it's the typical example for the Dvoretzky knight over bishop.
And by the way, there you go. I didn't think that White wanted to drop this pawn on d3. And well, knight takes d3. Now we have rook e7 in order to defend the pawn. But maybe rook e1 check, Tina? That might even be better.
E1. Trading the rooks and saying that I don't need them. You have your rook active here. Threatening b7, I don't want this pin.
Exactly.
In my head.
Rook e1 check trade, and you take with the knight. The bad news is the pawn's coming to d3. And once the pawn comes to d3, then the king on f1 is
cut.
Stuck. Yeah, cut. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, the knight is gone. The king is no longer cut, but I guess it's not about the king anymore. It's about the pawn that is gonna promote.
I think this is game over. Knight goes back to d4, and I think Black's king, by the way, can just make a beeline to the d5 square and gift me the pawn on c5.
Yeah. Yes. So did we have just seen the clear outplay by Levon of his opponent Maxime? Just a positional outplay?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This whole game is like an exemplary play of how you get the totally equal, at least at first glance, position, and you just outplay your opponent because you have a knight or a bishop.
Yes, exactly. That single imbalance and learning how to exploit the imbalance in your favor. It's a great skill. And well, we just saw a fabulous demonstration here in this game. And in this case, King C4, I wanted to say, never forget the pawn on C5 is not running anywhere. And it was more important for Black to get his king to C4 than and not to allow a king B3 or king D3. Now here, I think it's cat and mouse, but in reality, I think Black can just go B5, B4, B3, and just win the game.
Yeah.
There's nothing that White can really do to prevent this plan, but B5, and when you put your pawn on B3, it means that your king can go to D3 as Black. So there's nothing that White can do. This is a lost.
Yeah,
hopeless.
Maxime just resigned.
Hopeless. Any other games of this?
Yeah, we got plenty, to be honest.
Please.
We've got Hikaru, Grishuk, Nipponeshi. Oh, sorry, we got Grishuk.
You had me at Hikaru Grishuk.
Yeah, Hikaru already finished by that. Oh, Grishuk is about to lose to Amin Tabatabai. What do we have here? These two were I just saw both of them last week in Belgrade, and unfortunately both of them got knocked out.
Have you visited the FIDE Grand Prix then?
Yeah, I've been working on the FIDE Grand Prix, and
Yes.
both of them were playing, and oh, there we go. Aminu just won his game.
Mate. Yeah, the mate on H1. Ouch.
Speaking of streamers, we've got Krikor here, who just made a draw against Alexei Trev, and the last game, yes, sir, that is in progress.
Yes.
Oh, look at the time.
And look at that nasty move. Knight takes A4. Oh, White won.
Oh, that was Jordan. Or Jordan.
Jordan Van Forest. Yes.
You mean the nasty move, Knight A4? No, wait, what
Not
was the
enough.
nasty move?
No,
Yeah, it was not enough.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was three
Already.
connected pass pawns versus nothing. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. Not even
Yeah.
James Bond is going to save this one, you know.
Unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, right. We are heading to the round 8, and so far nothing changed. The Levon Aronian, 6 out of 7, the sole leader, but he is being followed by Hikaru and Fabi, two of the compatriots of his. And that being said, we're about to take a very short break because we are in a very big rush for the round
8 to 9. Yeah, it's going by.
Let's go. Welcome back to Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. And time flies. Yes, sir. We're already at the round 8. What do we have here so far?
Well, we have a very informed Levon Aronian as he just took down the French beast, Maxime Richard-Legrave, in an exemplary game. If you look at that game and you go, whoa, how did he play it so well? And I'm seeing the beautiful white chair.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought that was Levon's chair. So is he at the board, or maybe that was a delay there? Which game are we now on? This Queen F6.
I've got the Amin Tabatabai versus Daniel Duba, but saying that maybe you are in favor of the leaders of the tournament, you tell me who is your favorite.
Absolutely. No, I love following the leaders. And again, it's all about finishing in the top 8 in the tournament to get to tomorrow's knockout elimination matches, where you get to the business end of things and some really nice prize money, as well as, don't forget, leader points. You want to score as many points as you can in order to qualify for the overall championship later.
Oh, yeah.
A4.
Unfortunately, yes, sir. I have some very bad news for you.
Uh-oh.
Levon Aronian, Hikaru Nakamura, Fabiano Caruana, and Blue Baum has already finished their round
Draw.
8. Yeah.
And that's what it's about. I mean, they're trying to qualify for tomorrow. So sometimes you get those draws just to, well, keep your place, if you will. By the way, this is one of those very, very confounding positions that are common in a Caro-Kann. At first blush, you think that black has a lot of space, and he just played this move d4. Black has a lot of space, and white is kind of trapped or pushed on the first rank. But in truth, white's position is really quite decent. And the move d4 looks like a really badly timed move, Dina. I mean, knight takes e5, and what was black planning to capture on e3 and sacrifice?
It could be so. In any case, it is a very typical way of activating your bishop from b7, so it cannot be bad. This is what I would say if I were to guess.
Unless it costs you a lot of material. So the question is, after knight takes e5, if you take on e3, I have the move. Well, if you take on there, then I'm yes, it's okay. Go ahead, Dina. Knight e5, rook e5. I wanted to take on d4 with the c3 pawn.
Oh yeah, because there's bishop, and the rook takes,
and then
how about...
Here, I think you're helping me by capturing on d4. You're bringing my rook into the play. So yes, put the pawn back on d4, the white pawn on d4. Now go ahead and try your rook g5 move. Right.
You are very, very I'm trying to look for the perfect word for this.
I'm a mean person.
Mean person. New word for my vocabulary.
Right. Mean. I have evil intentions, the rook coming. But if you had taken and activated my rook, if my rook would be on d4, then I could play rook g4 and oppose the rook. That was why I was thinking that you shouldn't trade. But now, having said this, has he played...
let us refresh.
Yes, exactly. Because here, I think the crucial move, the most crucial move is...
Oh, sorry. There has been a lot of action.
It happened quickly, too.
Indeed. The things that you were suggesting. Look at this. And now, after rook g5, we've got e4, rook e8, and f3. And this is the position on the board.
I'm trying to understand what's going on. I was thrown off by that move. Wow. Okay. Bishop h3. What's happening, Dina? White's up material, but this is a very dangerous looking attack. How severe, how real is it?
To me, it seems really very, very real.
Worrying. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
be worried here. But you see,
With-
the evaluation bar is pretty calm.
Yeah, well, the computer we understand never it's got ice in its veins, ice in the chips. So I'm thinking bishop takes h3. I don't want that landing on my doorstep. Should I play a move like king f2 and just sidestep things? What would be your approach?
Say again, you're
Well, I don't want to see bishop h3. I'm worried about bishop h3. So should white move his king, and should he move his king to f1? Should he move his king to h1? What would your approach be?
Okay, it would be more natural for me to king to h1, but
Okay.
it seems like you have to calculate here, and I have to be honest with you, Yasser, I do not like to calculate.
Okay, more training.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that we could do. We don't also have to play move our king. We could just say, okay, we can deal with for example, we could play a move like queen d3, bishop takes h3, bishop f1, and we can say, go ahead, I'll give you back that pawn, but I will put my bishop on f1, I'll defend g2, and I'll be happy, right? So we don't have to move our king, but we should be mindful that black's attack has to be taken very, very seriously. This is dangerous. And
the bright side, that would give us an extra tempo, because we could have started in that case by bishop f1, and then on bishop h3 we would have a chance to think. And as long as it wouldn't be too late. Oh,
the reason I didn't like the immediate bishop f1 was because of queen takes f3.
Oh yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that.
I was thinking queen d3, bishop h3, bishop f1, but g2, g4 is by far the most ambitious. That says, okay, I'm playing to win because I need to qualify. Is that the right? Point wise, is that what black and white have to do? Somebody has to win this game.
It could be either of this option or
on the bubble.
A simplest explanation, as there was nothing else that was looking good.
Okay, wow. Because g4, exposes the king. What I like to say is it lifts the kimono. I mean, your pawn or nice shield, protecting your king, and suddenly you're exposing yourself with this move g2, g4. How bad is it? Or is it bad?
Taking a d4, now king g2.
Just protecting the squares f4, g3, h2, just
getting ready for the end game, activating your king.
Right. Rook takes a5. Black's a pawn grabber as well. Nice.
Yeah, seems like someone is learning from you afterwards.
Right. Rook to d8.
Okay, but this is weird, because from one side you look at the black's pawns and you think that all of them are weak, but from other side, it's if you count, it's what? Okay, it's only one pawn up.
Exactly.
The d4 is kind of dangerous. Could be a queen soon.
Yeah, you better make sure that d3 doesn't hurt your feelings. Queen b6. And again, this is like one of those moments where whenever you're being offered a trade, you want to make it on your terms, right? I mean, we're in a market. We're ready to trade the goods, but let's do it on our terms. I don't want to take on b6 and undouble your pawns. So I want you to take on b5, and I will play bishop takes. I really like the move rook d2, just protecting the pawn on b2 and saying, go ahead, trade. You're welcome to play the move queen b5.
Yeah, I like that. That rule, I haven't heard about this before. Like, if you want to trade, it's okay, but let's do it on my terms. I really love it.
Exactly. And it's what my friend Jeremy Silman, he really likes to say. He likes to think of chess as a sport where, you know, I have my agenda and you have your agenda, and you know, you want your opponent to play your script, right?
Yeah.
So you try to force your will on the position. The move Queen G5, by the way, that introduces a very nasty checkmating pattern of F5, F6, and Queen H6. Everybody gets checkmated at least 10 times in their career with the pawn on F6 and the queen on H6. D3.
Ooh,
Okay.
trading the rooks?
Ooh. Okay.
Seems like...
Black was very, very worried about F5 and that mating pattern that we just showed. So D3 was a kind of I want to say not a panicked reaction, but he wants to play Queen D2 to pin the F4 pawn so that you can't play the move F5, and he's done it.
But we've got the king. King F3 was my will.
King
And then what would be? But okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
okay.
done.
I think it's time for A5, A4 to.
You're not interested in the pawn this time?
I'm a little bit worried if I go Queen D2, you're going to go F5 and maybe even Queen D8 check.
But wait, for that we have time. We got the bishop, we would put it somewhere, and then you even like queen from B2 would be protecting F6 and the king from G7 as well.
Okay, so
we need to calculate.
Queen takes B2, Queen D8 check, King G7, F5, and he played Queen. The difference is he wants to be able to play Bishop C4. He thinks the king on F2, you're in a pin, so Bishop C4 is on Black's agenda.
And the idea after F6 to go King H6, I suppose, and then the king would just run away.
He's blundered. The game bar just went look like straight down to zeros.
No way.
E5, and here it comes, A4. And what's the story with A3? No, he played Bishop C4. I was about to say A3. He could take the bishop and A2, and maybe make a girl
or a boy.
Or a boy
would work.
A rook would be nice. Yes.
Yeah, would be pretty much enough. But either way, here no kids needed. Life is beautiful either way.
Exactly. Bishop C4. It looks like Black is definitely got this. Oof. And,
yeah.
Wow.
No babies needed. Everything can be. Just the career satisfaction is already enough to be happy in this game.
Just that idea of promoting to a boy, a rook, for a moment. I remember it was during the Deep Blue matches, and I was talking to Gary. And I was saying, Gary, it's like really strange. The computer, whenever, you've got one of these situations where you're going to queen a pawn, and the rook is going to sacrifice itself for the newly born queen, the computer doesn't make a queen. It makes a rook.
No way.
Yeah, it doesn't make the queen. And I said, Gary, could you tell me why the computer doesn't make a queen, but it makes a rook instead? And he says, well, he had been studying the computer's play for the Deep Blue match. And if you make a queen and then the rook takes the queen and then you take the rook, that's like a big material, a loss, right? Rook for a queen. So this way you promote to a rook.
Wow.
And you don't have the material loss of promoting to a queen, which gets captured. It's pretty funny. I mean, we had a great laugh. That was the match, by the way, that Gary won. A lot of people remember the match he lost in New York in, what was it, 1996? And he won the match in Philadelphia in 1995. By the way, this is a queen ending with lots of extra pawns for black.
Oh, yeah. But I'm wondering, has it changed since we've got the artificial intelligence and Stockfish got smarter? Has it changed the preference toward promoting a queen even though you would lose it? That's a good question. Just a rhetorical one.
Right? I think it's still valid. I don't know. I don't know how Alpha Zero would imagine that. By the way, Queen H3 check, that ends the game on the spot, because Queen G4 check will force the trade of queens, and White gave it up.
Yeah, and surprisingly, this was the longest game of the round 8. But that being said, yes, sir, we're about to enter our final round.
And well, as always, these qualification tournaments are just exciting till the very finish. Tell us about our leaderboard before we take a quick break. Who's on the bubble? Who's confirmed? Who's in for tomorrow's?
Absolutely. So we've got, as always, Mr. Livoneronian with 6.5 out of 8. We've got Hikaru just behind, and the whole crew of 5.5 out of 8. We've got Fabiano, Daniel Dubov, Wesley So, Bluebaum, Tigor Stabe is Garakamsky, and on the 8th spot for now, the last place is for Parham Maksula with 5 out of 8, but one more round to go.
All
meaning,
to play for.
Exactly. We will be back very shortly.
All right.
Rapid Chess Championship is about to finish. We're entering to the final round of this week number 5 Saturday Swiss. Yes, sir. Who do you think are gonna be the top 8?
Well, once again, I mean, during our break we were talking about it, Danny, and I can't believe the extraordinary consistency of Levon and Fabi and Hikaru. They just constantly seem to be there qualifying at the top. And in such a strong field to always be qualifying. Wow, it's something special, and I gotta say, I admire them, and I don't necessarily know how they do it, but they do it.
They definitely do it. And moreover, some of them have already done it, Yasser. We've got Levon Aronian, Hikaru Nakamura, Fabiano Caruana, Daniel Dubov, Wesley So, and Garakamsky, who have already finished the tournaments. All of them are or have just made their draws. So Levon Aronian, 7 out of 9 is for sure to pass. Hikaru Nakamura, 6.5 out of 9. I say yes, of course, but the other 4, 6 out of 9, I don't know.
Could be any one of them, but Levon and Hikaru definitely. Well, I just really impressed. This event in particular, I think Levon just showed his class. I can't put it any other way. And his game with MBL was just, a gem.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
Very, very, very deserving. I want to say qualifiers. And again, tomorrow they will be the knockout matches. And the business end, and all you need is one win. You don't get a chance to come back in these knockout matches, so the games are extremely tense. Will you be doing the commentary tomorrow?
That's correct. I will be covering the knockouts as well, together with one of your colleagues from Chasbra, Aman Hambledon.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Be careful though, Aman bites.
Oh, okay. But that is not a pretty issue. He should be aware that I am also pretty dangerous as well.
Okay, I'll let him know. And we just saw this move, really a crafty move. Bishop going for this imbalance. Black's idea is he wants to play the move Rook A7, and then he wants to play Bishop takes C1 and then take on D4. The idea is that his knight on D7 needs to go to the C5 square. And if he can do that, the light squared bishop is not dangerous. So a nice decision there by Black with the move C5, inviting knight G5. And this whole 4 sequence should work out okay. Okay for Black, I mean.
Yeah, very nice trade. Now the bishop is attacked and white is thinking where to retreat it.
Exactly.
Bishop C6 or bishop G2 or bishop E4 attacking the H7. Which one do you prefer, Yasser?
Bishop E4. And again, we were just talking about that move King F1 in an earlier game. You threaten me. The move Rook A8 to A7 hits my bishop. So I've got to move the bishop. So I want to move to a square where it's threatening you. So I'm thinking E4 and I'm thinking C6. I'm really thinking G2 because I want, again, to be more active and play to my agenda. So Bishop E4 gains a tempo against the pawn on H7, and Bishop C6 are my 2 likely choices.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. But, Parham is thinking, what is he thinking of? Choosing between these 2 nicest options?
Well, there is this Bishop E4. Oh, there's the 3rd option.
Oh, nice. That is why we are sometimes commentators and not players, right?
There you go. Okay, so here the question is, so great, you get to play for C6. So Rook takes B7, C6, Bishop takes C1. Now, in this case, after Bishop takes C1, there's this nasty idea of if you move the bishop back, I don't care, say Bishop G5 or Bishop A3, then Queen. You have to take with the Queen, and then there's Rook takes D7. So there's still some nice tactical play here in the position.
That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, that is dangerous. Also, what is interesting to know is that Mr. Mr. Bluebound is with 5.5, but Parham Maksudlu is only with 5 points. So I'm not sure the draw is something that interests both of them.
Exactly.
At least not Parham.
So let's look at the situation. Rook c7, rook takes d7, rook takes d7, bishop takes g5. Very, very important to get in that intermezzo move. Bishop takes g5, queen takes g5, takes on c7, d7. If white maintains that pawn on d7, it's game over. He just wins. So the question is, can he maintain the pawn? Queen takes g5,
That's
c6 takes d7, rook to d8, rook to d1.
Oh, it seems like completely lost for black.
Jury's still out for me, because even though it's an extra pawn, first of all, there's king f8, king e7, queen c5, queen c6. It might be that you could round the pawn up. Of course, give me the position with the extra pawn, right? I mean, we've established. Oh yeah, we've established my needs, and they're not that great, by the way. All I need is an extra pawn, and usually that's enough. You know, like a Wolverine, I'll just tenaciously hang on.
Yeah, but yes, they're looking at this position. Even I could win this against Mr. Bluebound.
But I understand what you're saying. I like the extra pawn, but we do understand that king f8, king e7 could round it up, round that pawn up. We're not going to be happy if that pawn gets captured.
But how about I create a second weakness in the old books? They say h4, h5.
Okay, so let's go. Well, from your lips to the player's ears. H4. Okay, so king f8. Walk us through it, Dina. How you're going to play h5? Ooh, look at that. Queen d6. That was nasty. Oh,
very materialistic.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, as always.
Okay, there you go. That was, that cleared the cobwebs. Queen d6 check, and game over. That's it.
Oh yeah.
What other games are going on as we are in the 9th and final round?
Okay, I'm looking at who could be the closest. It's Jeffrey Zung versus.
Jeffrey Zung, yeah.
I think he's playing versus my boy, Alexei Seirawan, who is, by the way, also in Belgrade right now. He's playing in Belgrade Open. Where is this game? Yeah, here they go. Ooh. Yeah, Alexei is playing in OTP tournament and a close round robin Invitational Belgrade Open 2022, which is taking place at the same location, the same hotel, together with the Grand Prix finals that have just finished today. I mean, the first game of the finals.
Exactly. I just find it interesting that Richard Rapport, who originally from Hungary, lives in Belgrade, and they happen to have a tournament in his home city. How sweet it is.
Yeah. Well, believe me or not, I have been asking him millions of times, how does it feel to be playing home? And he said, I have no home. It doesn't matter for me. And I do not have any particular feelings about playing either in Belgrade or in Budapest or elsewhere.
Boo.
Yeah, he's a very special guy, but I am extremely happy that every time I get to interview him, he's always, sharing every single thought of his, what is on his mind.
Nice. Yeah, he's very endearing. I got a chance to spend a lot of time with him and his wife in St. Louis, and I really respect him. I think he is an extraordinary talent. And the fact that he got to the final, I don't find that very surprising. I think he's capable of really great results. Now, this position is a little bit of a head scratcher, very, very confounding. my gut feeling is it's got to be good for white. Like just it's got to be good for white.
Oh yeah.
But-
Look at this. Look at the 7th rank. It's just
Right?
again, as they teach kids.
Good bishop. Yeah, right. But finding the final blow, so to speak, that's one of the things that I've really admired about the modern day players, most especially my generation of players. We weren't great in defense. We were not great in defense. When I look at what Hikaru, for example, Levon, they're tenacious defenders. It's just extraordinary. They can save what positions that my generation would have said, it's over, stop it.
Yeah.
Like they find resources that I just never imagined was there. So that is one huge difference, I think, that this generation of players have over, say, my generation, that they're really great. Not to say that we didn't have good defenders. Ulf Andersson comes to mind instantly as a great defender. It's just that everybody suddenly seems to be a great attacker and a great defender. Magnus Carlsen seems to be able to be, he's perfectly confident playing the attack as well as the role of defender.
And seems like he has changed his style recently, or at least the matter of taste. Didn't you get this impression?
You mean because of his match with Nepo?
Maybe, yeah. Also because of his latest games as well.
Well, I'll quote Magnus. I won't answer it with my own opinion. I'll quote his opinion. So when Magnus was asked in an interview who was his favorite world champion, he said Magnus Carlsen 2013.
Oh.
That was like his version 1.0. Today we have Magnus 5.0, and he liked the way he played when he played his first match with Vichy. I thought that was very insightful and quite funny, actually.
Yeah.
My favorite world champion, myself, as a younger person. Okay, look at this. Still, White has not, won the game yet. It looks like he should, but okay. Still
there is still a rook on the 7th, and Yasser, as long as it is there, I am feeling confident for White here.
Exactly. It has to do, I'm calculating e7. Knight takes e7, bishop e6. So I was trying to calculate that. And,
Bravo.
well, I'm still, I didn't finish. I'm not quite 100% sure that it's what I wanted to do, but maybe it's winning. It looks like it should win, right? Rook d6 takes, check. Yes, it's a win now. Yeah, and it's a very, very good bishop. Rook to, I don't care. In this case, I might just play. Yeah, he just played with the f2. Okay. So this should be an easy win now for White. It's an extra piece.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes total sense. And
I wanted to say a very nice move to get in. If I were White, is I would want to play the move a2, a3 myself. Certainly did.
Yeah, it's a good, prophylactical move, because you kind of want to avoid this b4. White
right.
Seirawan,
yes, exactly.
Is qualifying.
And there's.
I think he's qualifying. Wait. Okay. Yeah, I should not make any conclusions. It's too early. Okay, Maxulu's gonna win. I mean, it's too early anyway, because we're going to show the game of the day first.
Okay, well, for me, what was your choice? Sorry, Dina.
Yeah, how about we see how these 3 are ending before we reveal all the secrets?
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Look, here we have Jordan Van Forest versus Benjamin Bok. Oh, yeah, so
Dutch
these
Meyer.
are two countrymen, your
Exactly.
countrymen as well.
Well, I got to tell you, one of the things that you see it time and time again with these national rivals, there's no friendship. There's no let's take it easy on one another. No, when Fabi and Hikaru get together, or Wesley, I mean, they're trying to hurt one another. And you know, Anish, Benjamin, Jordan, you know, they want to win. And
chess is a cruel sport.
it is. It truly is. And it's what a lot of people don't realize is at the very, very, very top, it's incredibly emotional as well. You are so burned out after a top level classical game like that you experience at a championship. Look at that nasty discover check. What did you call it? Dirty ideas, dirty tricks?
Yeah, no friendship, you said.
Oh.
You saw that A3 with the idea B takes A3 and then king takes C3. That was the last try. Very desperate one.
Yes, the last great act of defiance, I call it.
Yeah, and even though not sure if we would be saving.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay, that was big. Sorry.
Uh-oh. Was it like equal or? Oh, let's go. King and wait, knight and bishop. Checkmate. Let's count the moves, everybody.
Right. Okay. Honesty. Could you do it in 30 seconds?
Honestly speaking, I could do it, and that's already enough.
Okay.
Without any time limits, it's already a good achievement.
Exactly. Now, of course, we understand in a bishop and knight, your goal is to push the king into the corner of your bishop. So because black has the light squared bishop, he wants to check.
Sorry.
What was it a pre-move
No,
blunder?
it was okay. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. My apologies.
No, it's okay. Pre-move blunder. Oh, what happened?
In fact, what happened yesterday is that I think it was Matlakov. Matlakov it ran out of time. He didn't have enough time, so it's draw. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh no. You were saying.
No, we just have to checkmate in the light square corner because we have a light square bishop. So you have to go checkmate to the king on H1 or A8. That's it. And it just seemed that he just didn't have the time at all.
Yeah, did not. I think it was 15 seconds for black from the beginning. And even me having that skill of 30 seconds that you would grant me would not be enough. It was 15.
15, yeah.
Might not be enough.
I mean, there are certain players, again, I'm bringing Hikaru to the limelight here, but I think Hikaru could probably checkmate that in like, I'm not joking, like 5 seconds. He's just
no way.
I watched him since he was a little boy growing up. No, he is gifted in his abilities, and that is one. Donnie,
right.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. This was a great Swiss. And again, I really wanted to say thank you and opportunity to work with you and meet you for the first time. Cyber introductions. I feel
yes, sir. It has been
all day.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to ask Amand more if he doesn't want to leave his spots to you. Joking. No, to be honest,
good.
I do have a lot to say, but I believe we're not yet saying bye neither to both of us nor to our viewers because we still have a game of the day to choose.
Yes, we do.
So that means that we are taking a very tiny little break and getting back to you with the game and then announcing the results.
Okay.
And welcome back to the week number 5 of the Rapid Chess Championship. We have just finished the Swiss part. Tomorrow we have a knockout, but it is not over without a very traditional Rapid Coinbase recap.
Absolutely. And for the game we selected, I was sorry for all the tacticians out there, but we thought that this was a marvelous example of really, really high quality game between MVL and Levonaronian, two gladiators at the chessboard. And they went into a Berlin, which has been made, well, famous by thousands of players by now. And they followed a long variation, a theoretically approved variation that had been played for the first time in 2013, I want to say, by the world champion Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. Hikaru was white, and Magnus found a really fantastic way of drawing what was a difficult game. Donnie, what you were particularly drawn to in this game was when the players went into a 2 bishops versus a bishop and knight situation, and you were attracted to white's position.
Yeah, that is a very special case. When at first, I had this feeling that 2 bishops were given an advantage, but
exactly, they were.
And they were, yeah, that's very precise. And they were, but then something went wrong. The first key moment was here yes. When the rook was hanging, and Maxime here, MVL, had this option of taking this pawn on f5, but then there would be g6 and some very sharp lines that we tried to calculate together with Yasser, but did not come up to any conclusion, and neither did Maxime, because he just retreated his rook to e2.
Exactly, and well, Levon was very pleased to be able to play the move g6. It's sort of like, hey, if you don't want my pawn, let me tell you something I do. And he quickly defended it. And now after bishop c3, d4, once again, I felt that white's 2 bishops were really looking excellent. The bishop was going to come to g2 and really have a great influence on this long diagonal. So at this moment, I was still in white's favor, like you, Dani.
Yeah, that is correct. And here, all of a sudden, we got this rook a1, losing a tempo, because then the rook had to come back to d1 and then protect the bishop. But okay, maybe that tempo was not that important after all, because the actual mistake happened later. Was it c4, Yasser?
For me, definitely. I didn't like this move at the time that it was played. I wasn't really that keen on the move a4 either. If you go back just a move, I would have been much happier if if white had started with the move b4 instead of the move a4, and definitely not the move c4. I just thought that whenever you have the 2 bishops, you want to nurse the position so that you can always open up the position for yourself. And the move c2, c3 was definitely something I want to keep in my back pocket. So here I might have been attracted, for example, to a move like rook a1 with the idea of rook a3 and rook b3, and at a certain moment to play c3. When I saw the move c4, Levon's reaction was spot on. I just loved this reaction so much. He played quickly knight d7, Donnie.
Wow, yeah, c4 and knight d7, and then we got b4 and take, bishop takes, and bishop a5, and
suddenly bishop, the tables are turning, because the if you trade the bishops, then black's knight is much more powerful than the bishop on g2. Donnie, go ahead.
Yeah, and the first thing is bishop a3, but the second thing is c5. Look at this move, just blocking the bishop, like this. I think that was the end for us. In our hearts, both bishop died.
Yeah, that I felt like I got tasered after that move, because suddenly this bishop on a3 was mournful. It's like, why did you do that? And it was more or less at this point that Levon really started to show his class.
Oh yeah, let's take a look. Knight e5, bishop h1, bishop c3, h3, and all this path has been just like a crying story. After trading the rooks, it was already clear for us that Black was winning this game without any doubt.
Exactly. And here is very nicely done. King comes to d5, and I really like this move. This move, again, I think that really shows great class. The pawn on c5 is not moving, but the king on c4 is really nicely placed. It can go to b4, and here, well, it's winning. And for Levon, this was a huge victory that really propelled him to the championship.
Yeah, I'm even thinking, maybe King C4 was also in a way a little bit of mocking. Once again, I had a chance to interview Levon at the first stage of Grand Prix in Berlin, and I asked him, Levon, what kind of trash talking school are you coming from? He told me it's a Soviet school of trash talking. It's a very special school of trash talking. It's when you do not necessarily, troll your opponent. You make him doubt everything he's doing. And this is about King C4. You just slightly make your opponent doubting. Should he resign now or a move after?
Domination. Nice. Soviet trash talking. Well, as an American, we had like a meme about the Soviets, but trash talking wasn't a part of that consciousness. I can tell you, we always thought of the Soviets as something like a Borg, like they all were communist and card carrying communist members. And it was really shocking to me when I went to the Soviet Union for the very first time in 1979, and I realized that this was a country of many different peoples.
Oh yeah.
And not all of them were communists, and in fact it was a very, very small percentage, maybe 10-12% that were actually communists, and they represented Armenia and Georgia and all of the other republics. So it was a really eye-opening experience. But I like that trash talking Soviets. And now I've got something to really think about. Dani, I just wanted to say once again that I think chess is a beautiful, beautiful sport with only one weakness. We don't have enough lady players, and it's such a great pleasure for me to meet you for the first time and to work with you. And I just want to encourage you to keep streaming and keep bringing more women into chess. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you so much, Yasser. You have been a role model from the very first day of me starting watching the chess commentary, and you are for sure. And today is a very special day for me because I get a chance to be working with you. It is like a dream come true. But before I finish this wonderful speech of mine, we have to remind our viewers that we are actually having the second part of today's action, and it is a knockout. Let us take a look at the bracket briefly. We have the knockout presented by Coinbase. Here we've got Levon Aronian versus Gata Kamsky, Fabiano Caruana versus Wesley So. This is going to be your favorite match, I assume.
Absolutely.
Two Americans clash. And we also got Hikaru Nakamura versus Alexei Sarana, and Farham Maksudlu versus Daniel Dubov, yet again, my boy. There we go.
Nice brackets. And I've got to say, it's nice to see Gata Kamsky qualifying. Gata, of course, played for the World Championship match title, and a name out of the past, 5-time U.S. champion. Don't overlook these guys. They may be old and gray, but they still bite.
Oh yeah, they still bite. Last but not least, before we end up our show today, let me introduce you to the classroom. The all-new Classroom is live on chess.com. Classroom offers the very best virtual class experience for coaches, schools, and students. You can connect with anyone at any time with native video and voice conferencing. Check out the best way to teach and learn at chess.com/classroom.
Very nice. Very nice.
And
Donnie, once again, I want to say it was really a great pleasure. And I hope we can get the chess.com producers to match us up again in the near future.
oh, that would be a dream, Yasser. Once again, it has been a privilege for me to be working with you together, and I'm sure that I will keep that experience very deep in my heart. And the most importantly, I will remember that if you want to trade queens, you do it when you want and on your terms, and not on the ones of your opponents.
Exactly, exactly. Big shout out to everybody who joined us. Thank you very much. And look forward to tomorrow for more exciting chess at chess.com and this Rapid Championships. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye, and see you tomorrow.